Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 2025 Quantum Biologic Powwow. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to start the call with some announcements here, like I do every call, as we always have new members joining us every single month. Number one rule is to keep yourself muted at all times unless I call upon you to unmute yourself if you are to speak live. As you know, when you registered, if you registered before the deadline, you were to submit questions to either be speaking live with Dr. Cruz or to be asked of you. Those questions are taken as they are submitted, just like you're first in line. If you are overseas and it is nighttime for you or even early morning, please let me know if you're to speak live so that we can get you on earlier in the call so that you can get to bed where you need to be. Again, we take the callers as they were submitted. I will message you and let you know when you are going to be coming up to speak. I will ask you to unmute your line. So please be paying attention in chat and or listening to me on the call to ask you to unmute. If you do not unmute, then when we move to the next caller, we got to keep the call moving along. Once we get done with the live callers, then we move on to the questions to be asked. And again, they are taken as they are received, and I will ask them of you. The recording is always available on your dashboard within 24 hours of the live call. And again, keep yourself muted unless, because we get a lot of feedback if people unmute themselves if we are on with another live caller. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cruz. I know he probably has some things that he wants to talk about here, and so we'll open the line up to him.
Actually, I don't want to talk about anything.
Nothing. Well, I'd like to say one thing, as you guys know, we're dealing with a lot of impersonators that are continuing to come out more and more and more. You guys are reporting them to me. Go ahead, continue to report them to me, but the number one thing that you need to do is report them to the platforms that they are on. If you're unsure if it's a Dr. Cruz actual account, please email me at info@cruz@destin.com. I will confirm yes or no if he is, but I can tell you, you are not going to be receiving a DM from Dr. Cruz directly asking you to give him Bitcoin, or he's going to help you invest in Bitcoin, et cetera, et cetera. That's not how he operates. If you are a member of ours, you know that. But there are a lot of people falling for these impersonators, and there is only so much we can do. We as an army have to report these accounts as much as we can to get them removed, but they're causing a lot of problems. So I just wanted to say that out loud. I know that I've sent you guys emails. We've also posted in social media, but we need your help to get these people taken down. So again, if you're unsure if it's Dr. Cruz, email me. I will confirm if it's his account or not, and then we report him. Okay, so I wanted to get that out there. Okay, perfect. With that, we're going to move on to our very first live caller, who is Anne Marie. Anne Marie, if you can unmute your line, please.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Cruz. So my question today is about trauma and like early childhood trauma, PTSD, and whether those you would give the same protocol with the sunrise and grounding, or is there something else that would be needed to heal possibly severe trauma like abuse, that type of thing?
Abuse is just like vaccines. I've said it, I don't know how many times, all stress in the human body goes through the autonomic nervous system. There's no alternative pathway. So whatever the problem is, it's there. So just think about what I've just said. I don't know if I said it on the blogs, but I've said it, I think, on Twitter, and I've said it in Instagram posts. When a baby's born with jaundice, that baby has a higher level of heteroplasmy. When you have PTSD, it's the same exact story. In other words, it's like you're being sat under a blue light when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the duration and the intensity of the abuse is different. We know what it is for a blue light. Okay. It's probably chronic duration, but low intensity. Like whatever the abuse is, let me just pick something out. Say you were involved in, child sex trafficking or something. Yeah, that may be like getting 6 or 7 vaccines and sitting under a blue light for like fucking 2 years. So what happens there? The duration and intensity change. That means the heteroplasmy rate goes up faster at that time. See, everybody has always believed what Wallace has said is that heteroplasmy rate goes up 10% every decade. Well, people don't realize within that decade, it goes like this. So I'll give you another for example. Is this exactly how children are getting autism? Is this exactly how children come out of their mothers with, I don't know, retinoblastoma? The answer is yes, because people don't realize that the two sex cells, meaning the sperm and the egg, they already have their own level of heteroplasmy from the two idiots that donated. So if those come together and they're already high, could you technically be a child born with 80% heteroplasmy in your eye, but it's only 10% everywhere else? That's where the electric bolt that comes from the injury, that's the whole photobioelectric scar that I've been talking about. Where it happens in you doesn't mean it's where it's going to happen, say, in someone who's got retinoblastoma, or say somebody's got a meningioma, or somebody just posted today about somewhere, I forget where it was, Instagram, about, hey, I have a nodule in my thyroid and magically it got bigger. So what is the deal with that person where they didn't have it, but now all of a sudden it comes up? Well, they didn't realize that they live, I don't know, let's say in Colorado. And all of a sudden, Elon Musk turned on his satellites, and now this fucking thing is growing in your neck because you had 60% heteroplasmy for the first 5 decades of your life. And now all of a sudden, in 2 years, because Elon Musk has turned this equalizer button on, now you're at 75% and you're having problems swallowing and you don't know why. And you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, the nodule looks cold, but there's some unusual things about it. What is that a sign to you? Like when you look around and you don't see anything, you're not getting your ass kicked. Nobody's trying to rape you. But guess what? Somebody is trying to rape you. See, it's a silent war going on around you. That's why I always kind of try to tell you guys, look all around. You don't see it, you don't sense it, then spidey senses. That's the reason you have to test. And you can't assume when this is happening to you. Like when you're seeing a change, like your child is getting a horrible rash on its leg, and you're living, I don't know, you pick the place, Chicago, New York, California, anywhere, and your kid has got all these weird reactions, and you look around and you don't see anything. I just had a lady on Twitter the other day tell me that she lives in Northern California. She goes, well, I don't think I have any problems. I'm like, that's great that you don't have any problems. You're not sick yet. Love it. And she told me where she lived. I said, go get a meter and tell me how well you feel about this. And she's like, well, why would I do that? And I said to her, why wouldn't you do that? Do you not want to know? Like I would say to you, the question that you asked me to start this, Jack, if I had childhood trauma, would you seek to avoid it? But see, the lady in Northern California, ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know. But see, when you're getting your ass kicked or you're getting raped or your parents are giving you 16 vaccines in a year and a half, you see the asteroid coming. And guess what? People react to that differently. That's why I said to you, that defines the duration and the intensity of the heteroplasmy rate that's going up. So people think that their heteroplasmy rate can't go from 20% to 60% in a year, and it can. Like, I'll give you another example, just off the top of my head, because now you guys have seen the ALS blog. That blog should have blown your fucking minds, because you're sitting there and these people actively have been demyelinating for 3-4 years before it happens. So as the myelin goes away from their upper spinal cord, all of a sudden the nodes of Ranvier start shooting out blue light, and it's constant. It never stops. Doesn't have to be high intensity. But what's happening? Hey, my fingers aren't working. Oh, now my arm's not working. Now this isn't working. It almost looks like a gradual paralysis, and it starts to hit certain, motor groups. And everybody goes, I don't understand this. And then when they get a workup, which is 2 or 3 years later, because it becomes so obvious something is wrong, then the doctors, it's a diagnosis of exclusion, just so you're clear on that. Meaning they work you up for fucking everything, rule everything else out. And when there's nothing else left, guess what they find? You know why? Because all the testing they do, all the biochemical stuff doesn't matter, because it's a biophysical disease. So if you listened to the podcast me and Alexis just did about some other bullshit, I said something towards the end that should really resonate with you. Are there medications out there like lithium? Because one of our members brought this up in the ALS, somebody's ALS thread on the forum. Why couldn't you use that? Because he's correct that there's papers out there that show that lithium helps. There's no biochemical pathway in any book that tells you that it works. So why would we give this when we know that ALS is tied to this UPE release? What happens if we gave that lithium to somebody with ALS and they got worse? Like, say they turned into Stephen Hawking and they turned into, I don't know. I mean, the person that's coming up in my head is Vince. And say all of a sudden he goes from walking to dead in 3 or 4 months. Do I have a duty? Do I feel bad about giving somebody lithium because, oh, well, I thought it was a good idea because, the papers in the biochemistry will tell you, hey, maybe this is a good idea to do. What did I answer Matt in the forum? I said, I don't believe the biochemistry thing. I know the electronic structure of lithium. It's got 2 shells that are filled. It's atomic number 3. I know that it happens to make UPEs in the ultraviolet place. It'll make it worse. Now, what didn't I tell Alexis? What didn't I tell Matt? I've actually had patients that had ALS that we gave lithium to, and they got worse. Now, I'm not going to say that publicly, but I'll say it on a Q&A.
Okay.
So that's the reason why. So you have to know if the doctor has experience doing these things or not. And that's the reason why it's really important. Like the question that you're bringing up, I need you to understand every stressor, no matter what it is, comes from, it goes through the same pathway. It's autonomic and sympathetic nervous system. I will promise you, this will make a lot more sense to you in the next several blogs. Like this month, you're going to get a couple blogs that are, how shall we say, explanatory, but there's 4 blogs coming out on demyelination. And I generally stack them right after like the big blog. Why did I start with ALS? Because it's a disease that nobody has a clue about. And if you read what's in there, you take that blog, you print it up, you go to anybody, you're not going to find a neurologist or neurosurgeon that's going to give that to you. And then what am I trying to also say? MS has demyelination. Autism has it. Bipolar disorder. So guess what you're going to find out? That story that I told you about the heteroplasmy rate, what if I was to tell you that all of these diseases are the same mechanism, but just at a different heteroplasmy rate and in a different place where the electric rut is? Remember, the lightning bolt is going to be different in those places. I already gave you a clue about bipolar disorder, where it is. It's in that FM modulation antenna in the thalamus. But guess what? When you do an MRI on these people, you find that they're also demyelinated. And what have we found with lithium? Because that's the most common disease that it's used. Lithium is very dangerous when they're in their manic phase. But when they're in their depressed phase, it's not. So given what I told you about ALS, that I told you that when you give it, it usually makes people worse. That actually gives you a clue about the pathophysiology, meaning the biophysics that are behind the scene. In other words, it's the shadow cast of what doctors learn in medical school. So that ALS blog, if you want to know the truth, it wasn't designed for any of you. It was designed for you. If you have a friend or a family and they have it, you print that fucker up
Mhm.
and then you guys start reading it and studying it. But every single disease, every single trauma goes through that autonomic nervous system, the balance between ANS and PNS. And you're going to hear, like, you probably, if you listen to the podcast that me and Alexis did last night, you heard it right at the end that we're going to do a podcast with a microbiome expert. I'll tell you right now, she's getting ready to hear something she doesn't know. Your enteric nervous system, meaning distal to your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is controlled the top part of the gut, okay, from the lower esophageal sphincter all the way to the transverse mesocolon. You know that the vagus nerve is a cranial nerve myelinated. The back end of your ass, meaning your colon down to your asshole, is innervated by something called the enteric nervous system. Do you know that it has less myelin and less mitochondria in it? And guess what happens with everybody who gets dysbiosis? They all have demyelination. All.
Mhm.
And guess what happens? That part of the gut demyelinates faster than the vagus nerve. So everybody who's listening to this is going, so this is why a fucking vagal nerve stimulator can sometimes help people with these other diseases, because it's changing the UPE frequency that's released. The answer is yes. But see, the thing is, they're not going to know any of that. Most people who read that blog probably didn't even know that people with ALS have dysbiosis associated with it, because you're all starstruck by, oh, fuck, it sucks to be Steve Gleason and have to be in a wheelchair. And then the real sad part of that disease is, because these people are so debilitated, they have no way to get around. What's the first fucking thing we do? We put them in a fucking wheelchair that's got a big, huge battery on it.
Mhm.
And they
Okay.
usually have a computer. Some of them have to talk. Remember the funny language of Stephen Hawking? So
Mhm.
are you going to get any better with that situation when you're putting people in there? It keeps their blood-brain barrier open. It keeps their gut barrier open. But guess what? Do we have any better options? No, the best option is to go to the beach, get in there and get your skin. Now, is that easy to do? Is that easy for someone to be picked up out of a wheelchair and be brought into the ocean and ground?
No.
No, but guess what? Uh, do we have some people in this community where that actually has happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Great
the
community.
answer to your question.
Okay, so yeah, I'm headed back to El Salvador on the 15th, so for a couple more months. So I'll just focus on trying to improve my mito habits.
Well, I told you that the big thing is you may not have to stay down here forever and ever and ever, but I think what you need to understand is back home where you are, that's your flower pot that's got the 19 holes in it. That's the big thing. You can still live at a high latitude, but you got to make sure that you're not being pounded by the things you can't see. That's the real story.
Yeah. The safest place is actually in my house and my yard, all around my neighborhood. It's crazy. I got a better meter and it's a lot more precise, the Safe and Sound Pro 2, and it's like I just take it on the dog walks and I look around at the antennas on people's houses and it's just crazy. And like the high
I'm
school,
glad you've done
middle
it because now you
school,
know. Now
yeah,
you know. It's
the
better that you know.
church, the church. There's a big cross up on the church and it's an antenna.
Yeah, well, that actually makes sense, because if you think about it, the cross, they want to get closer to Jesus faster. That's the best way to do it.
I mean, it should be like sacrilegious to have that thing be an antenna. I don't understand it, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I know I'm in Chernobyl. My house is more of a sanctuary than anywhere else I've found thus far. So that's the good thing. And I'm still working on biohacking it, but um, I know I need to be back at the beach more. And there are a few things that got better. My vitamin D got better, and my gut was better down there, and there's enough there showing me improvement that I know it will help to come back some more. So I will do that. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Bye.
Okay, next we have Kathy. Kathy, can you go ahead and unmute your line, please? Hello, welcome.
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry, I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
Unmuting. Hi, Dr. Cruz.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I've been in Playa del Carmen for the last 6 months and following all the protocols. And I just wanted your opinion on adding hydroxychloroquine. Because
I'm gonna be okay with that drug. Like I told you, it's related. It's related to methylene blue. The only thing I'm gonna warn you about
Mhm.
is it's not the same as methylene blue just because they're chemically related. Um, that those drugs can have a massive effect on your microbiome. So pay attention to that.
Okay.
But I don't have a problem with you adding it, but I'm going to tell you the same thing I just told our last member is
Mhm.
that the reason I'm not in the place that you're at is because it's turned into Nashville and you need to know that.
I know you've talked about that, and I'm probably not going to stay here. My lease is up in 2 months. And I'll likely move to El Salvador. It's actually cheaper here than El Salvador now. And it
No,
was,
I mean, I understand that it is cheaper. They have their own currency. I would tell
yeah,
you that if you're going to stay in Mexico, which I don't have a problem with.
yeah.
I would just tell you that you need to go to a different place than the Riviera Maya, because it's all 5G. They turned it into, a city in the United States, and that's unfortunate. But sadly, that's what happens when you have enough gringos go down to Mexico because the weather's nice there.
You're right.
It's just
Yeah.
one of the things that happens. And I remember, before you were even a member, I told people, be the traveling Wilbury, be ready that things are going to get bad. Like, for example, not that you want to hear this because you already made the decision to get out of Nashville, but I just had a consult 2 weeks ago with somebody who's in Florida. And I said, go
Mm,
outside, take a look up. That's all you got to do. Florida is no longer Florida.
yeah.
The reason why is because they're geoengineering the fuck out of it.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, I already had to move away from the beach here in Playa because between the cell towers and the dense population and tall buildings blocking the sun.
I'm going to
So
be honest.
here,
That's a problem in El Salvador too. Why? Because the beaches are popular. So if you go and you decide to come down here and say you're going to stay, this is what I try to tell people.
Mhm,
Go to a beach that it's only crowded on the weekends. Like for example, Loudie's probably on this call. Loudie can tell you when she lives in the Costa del Sol, there's
mhm.
fucking nobody there Monday through Saturday. I've actually been at her house on Saturday. I'm like, where the fuck is everybody? This beach is beautiful. Nobody's there. So that is kind of a beach that I think you can go. But do I think eventually that Costa del Sol is going to turn into what you're facing now? Yes, I believe
Yeah.
it will. Now, are there other beaches in El Salvador that there's fucking nothing? Yeah, but then you're going to say, oh, I'm a single female and, I feel bad being by myself. Well, you're going to come up with some excuse like, okay, I have to have a car, this and that. I don't speak Spanish, whatever the excuse is. I'm just going to tell you,
Mhm.
you need to realize that you're putting, you make these maneuvers because you're putting time back in your bank account. Kind of like what I said to Alexis yesterday. People don't look at the decisions that we make around how we live our life like time inflation. We all know about inflation from the Fed, and we know that there's not as many groceries in our lunch pocket because the way the money's gone bad. And you're correct. Mexico is better than El Salvador. El Salvador is actually a microcosm of what's going on in the United States. Why? Because we use American money here. So it's no different than that aspect. That's part of the reason why I try to tell you guys for the last 7 years, Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Why? Because that is your insurance policy so that you can live in the place where it's likely not going to have 20 or 30 million people in the country down the road. I don't think that's going to happen, but it has happened in Mexico.
Mhm. Well, thanks to you, I did buy Bitcoin, but not enough that it's going to make much of a difference
Well,
down, however.
just hold on a minute and give it some time. It even that little bit may shock you.
Well, I mean, I'm glad I did it, and we'll see. I guess it just depends on how long my road can be, and how successful I am at healing some things or
Well,
lots of things.
I think you'll be successful because even though you're in Mexico and it's not going as fast as you would have liked, compared to Nashville, did you still take a giant step forward to do the right thing?
Yes,
And I'm going to tell you,
definitely.
remember what I just told our last member, that your goal is to bring your heteroplasmy rate down. And I would even tell you, even if you don't bring it down, say if you're cruising and you're not getting worse, that means Kathy still hasn't taken time out of her bank account, to worry about it. That's the big thing. I think the people that have to worry are the people that live in 5G cities that uh, don't realize that their hemoglobin is kind of like having sickle cell anemia. And then when the government comes and sprays over their house, they basically just turned into, a different kind of creature because they no longer have the freedom to live their life. Like, in other words, they better like their creature comforts. They better like, living where they're going to live because they're going to age faster. They're going to rely on the things in the United States. So I hope they really like the Netflix and the Starbucks coffee, because that is the reality. That's the reason why our last member, I mean, all of you know that her and I have gone back and forth on the forum and here on Q&As. But the beautiful thing about this kind of thing, this is what decentralized medicine is. It's a little bit adversarial. Why? Because I have got to punch you in the mouth until you wake up and realize, fuck, if I keep making this mistake, I'm not hurting Jack. I'm hurting myself. I'm hurting my family. I'm hurting my kids. And once you get that modus operandi and you understand, as I just told her, that all these processes go through the same pathways, and you understand the concept of the electric scar, the concept of heteroplasm, concept that it can go up and down. Well, when you start to see that you live in a state that's got 7 military bases and it's always fucking cloudy because they're cloud seeding, and you go, why is our government doing this? I already gave you that broader thesis the last year. I'm not talking about the politics anymore. I'm done with it. Y'all should already know all that. But now we're coming into the part of the blog where you're going to start getting tons of blogs on tons of diseases. And you're going to sit there and you're going to go, fuck. And you're going to realize, you're going to go, phew. Like when you functionally understand that dysbiosis in the upper GI tract and the lower GI tract is a function of how much myelin is present in the nerves that are there. And it turns out the amount of myelin you have links directly to the amount of mitochondria that's there. Then you start going, wait a minute. If the myelin level links to the mitochondrial number, that means that the amount of light that's released when we get sick, a la Fritz Pop, that actually defines the disease you get. So what am I trying to say to you clearly right here when you have a problem on your skin? If you get an upper GI tract problem, meaning like, say, something with the vagus nerve, but not something in the colon, that's a really bad fucking sign. Why? Because that nerve is more myelinated. That tells you that the problem is even bigger than what you think. Or for example, when I look in someone's eye and I said, look, I think you have MS, and it turns out that the MS is worse in the eye than it is in the head, bad thing. So you're going to find out eye is worse than brain. Brain is worse than peripheral nervous system. Those are all the lessons that are getting ready to come to you in the next month. So that's how I want you to start thinking. In other words, I'm going to give you all a hierarchy, and you're going to go, when I say something, I don't know, 6 months in a Q&A, you're going to be like, I got it. This makes a lot of sense now. Okay, so demyelination in the brain isn't the same as it is in the vagus nerve. isn't the same as it is in the colon, isn't the same as it is in the peripheral nervous system. That means peripheral neuropathy of a diabetic is radically different than all these other neuropathies that are out there. Got it? And when you have really bad peripheral neuropathy, it tells you that you're really fucking disconnected from Earth, because that's exactly what happens with a diabetic. I know immediately cytochrome 1 is broken in them. I don't even have to be honest with you, for 20 years, I haven't had to think. If you tell me you have peripheral neuropathy, I know exactly what it means. You know, but then I have to sit down when someone who's a diabetic and does a consult with me, explain it to them. They're like, oh, fuck, I didn't realize that. Then they go, so is that the reason why my gut doesn't work? Is that the reason that I have a gut that doesn't move? I'm like, yeah, because your vagus nerve is completely demyelinated, just like your legs are. And I said, guess what? It's getting ready to happen here in your brain. And that's when you get diabetes type 3, which is Alzheimer's disease. That's how it goes. And the signs are there. All you have to do is have a doctor that understands this and say, okay, we're going to do an MRI of your brain and look for the redox problem right here. I've told you multiple times about the patients who've been farm members who sat there, argue with me. I said, just go get the fucking MRI. You get the MRI and look what happens. Oh, look, you have white matter lesions in your basal ganglia. That explains why your hip's fucked up. How many times have you heard me say that? How did I know? You're beginning to see the secret sauce. Like if you keep applying the messages and the lessons, it's an onion. And you're going to keep building them. And right now you're at the time of the blog where you're going to get so many different diseases. You're going to sit back and go, wow.
You know what I find amazing is the number of people who are physically a train wreck with all those issues you talked about, and then some, and somehow they manage to hang on for, I mean, my grandmother, 20 years with so many serious.
Why?
How is, no.
You understand why? It's hard to kill us. Remember what we are.
Clearly.
We're the penultimate silly talking monkey. We got rid of all of the stuff in our gut and our muscles to put it here. And that's why we live. And that's what people don't realize. Do you remember yesterday, again, the podcast I sat down with Alexis? I use an analogy, but it's very apropos here. Why do worms live longer with calorie restriction, but we don't? Well, nobody fucking seems to know that they have a modifiable TCA cycle. What does that mean? Well, the TCA cycle is the most incredible energy transformation machine in your body. Well, if they're able to modify it, of course they're going to fucking benefit from calorie restriction. We don't have that. We do it a different way. And see, the thing is, when you're the silly talking monkey that's a member here, you're going to find out what that way is and go, I got it. If I stay here, and here's the problem. This is what I want all of you to hear loud and clear. If I stay in Nashville, I'm going to live, but I'm going to be fucking miserable. I'm going to be at Baptist, St. Thomas, and Vanderbilt because I'm going to be falling apart. And I'm going to be going to talk to idiots that, you know, have all these fancy TV commercials and private boxes in the Titans' new stadium. But they can't fix Kathy Spears' problem. Got it? That's the reality of what's coming to the United States in the next, I don't know, 50 years. And the thing is, it's incumbent on patients getting this message that nature has a recipe. Follow the recipe. Don't break the recipe. Just keep going. And when you don't get better on your timetable, do what I just told our last member. Look to the left, look to the right. You don't see it? Okay, measure it. I can't be any more blatantly obvious than that. And I promise you, when you see all the diseases lay out, all of you are going to go, wow.
Okay, thank you. I will continue doing what I'm doing and start the hydroxychloroquine. Is there anything I should know about stopping after a certain amount of time? Does it get to be problematic?
No, it shouldn't, especially when you're in a good solar environment. In fact, I would tell you the drug you probably are not going to need to use it as much as you would if you're at a high latitude. I would just tell you the one side effect, be careful with. If you develop bad dysbiosis, pay attention to that. Don't blow it off.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you. Appreciate
right.
it.
Okay, really quickly, I have somebody on the call with a 917 area code. I've removed you once. I will be removing you again until I get you identified. We need to know that you are a member to stay on the call. So please either rename yourself, your member name, or I'll give you just a couple of minutes and you'll be removed from the call.
Just remove them from the call. If they're not going to put their name up or put it in chat,
You
remove
have to have a name, otherwise we remove you.
remove it. Just remove it. Stop playing games. You're wasting everybody else's time.
All right, next we have Christy. Christy, can you unmute your line, please?
Okay. Hello. Hi, Dr. Jack.
Hello.
Hi. I just want to thank you so much because I've been listening to your advice. I got Bitcoin. I didn't know how to do it, so I hired somebody to help me do that. The company that you recommended, slipping my mind.
Unchained.
Unchained. Yeah, Unchained. They've been
good.
wonderful. So that's been awesome. I had a building biologist come out this week, which was really wonderful too. And I am in Southern California. And surprisingly, he was actually really surprised at my yard. He said, it's like you're camping. So while I'm still in California, at least at the moment, I don't have a cell tower near my house. There's still things I need to fix inside. But I felt a relief that while I'm still at this property, it actually tested well. So that was,
Yes, all you got to do is get a Coleman tent.
ah. and so that was good news. But my plan is I got divorced and I have 2 years in the house, and so I was going to try and buy my ex-husband out of the house, and then I found out about you. So my plan is to move to El Salvador.
So why don't you sell him the house?
What?
Why don't you sell him the house?
Well, he doesn't want it. I'm in the house. He's out of the house. And
That's
so
good. Then use that as leverage. Say, I'll give you less money. I'm just telling you, this is how a savage thinks.
Okay. I like that. And so I'm actually going to El Salvador on May 13th until June 2nd and looking at property there. I had just been turned on to, and I haven't been there yet or researched it, what they call the green Bitcoin area in Berlin.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay. So
I haven't spent a lot of time up there, but I will tell you, nice community, good people. The people in that area also very, very helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I hired. The woman that's living like a local, who's a coach, I guess, for people moving to El Salvador to see if it's a right fit. And she's going to tour me around. And so that seemed like a good resource as well, too. And so my real question before all this happened, since I submitted a question the other day, but my other question was, with all the electrification of the earth, like what can we actually do? Like, is there anything we can actually do to slow things down, or is it just a matter of time?
I would tell you there's one thing in your favor.
Mm.
The inverse square law. So population density is the key. I don't anticipate. I was worried about population density in El Salvador 2, 3, 4 years ago. I'm not worried about that anymore. I don't think with some of the changes that I think that are happening in El Salvador, that we're going to get 20 million, 30 million people here. I actually think we may get 1 million people, but that's it. The only caveat that changes that is if fucking Bitcoin goes truly hog wild crazy. Like I'm talking about next 4 or 5 years, it's over $1 million, then we got a problem. But do I also think there's going to be huge shifts, like especially where you live, where Christy lives, where our other member is in Colorado. I think with the whole tariff thing and them trying to collapse the economy to control rates, that you guys could go through very, very wild swings. Kind of like, I told her about heteroplasmy. I think the same thing could happen. And you and Christy living in California are used to I would say probably relative stability in the housing market, but I got a funny feeling that may not happen, which is why I said to you with your husband, yeah, use that as leverage and, entice them. If you could entice them, I'd even tell you, even if you took a haircut and got out, but you got your money early, you put it in Bitcoin, that's a winner. You haven't lost anything when you,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, and it does require you to think a little bit differently about this. And it's no different. Like it's a really good point that I want to make to you, I think, is that when you have Bitcoin, that's a way for you to get inflation heteroplasm in your money down
Mm.
for a time. So you have more, price stability. So that way you guys can do things easier. Like Christy say, yeah, but it's really hard for me to take 2 kids and just pick up and go. But guess what? If she's sitting on 5 or 6 Bitcoin, she's like, oh fuck, I could probably do this,
Yeah.
and could I take less money from my house if I decide I'm going to go here or I'm going to go there? I just think the number one choice for most people, go to a place that has low population density, that always has, at least my feeling, about 8 months of UV light. Remember, any place you go is always going to have red light. Always. It's never gone, even if you go to the poles. But the real key thing is the sicker you are, the more UV you need. That's the key, because that's what lowers the heteroplasmy rate. And that's what I keep trying to pound into all of your heads, that if you think about this, what the government's really done is they're disconnecting your ability to regenerate. That's what the whole purpose of geoengineering is. And if you can't regenerate, that means you become an obedient idiot to the paradigm. And I want you to understand that overriding theme, so that way you can say, because it's no longer about latitude. Like I've done a couple consults with people just in the last month, and I've told them, I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you live in Florida. I mean, it really doesn't matter anymore, because everybody in fucking California is moving to Texas and Florida. Same thing with New York. So they're basically turning everything purple. I said, if you think this is about politics, you're crazy. Both of them are scammers. If you want to know the truth, so for me, it's population density is the big thing. And don't lie to yourself. No, like if you're 60 plus like I am, you need to be in a good environment so that you get to live to be 85, 90 years old, and you're not dependent on the system for, a new hip replacement, or, a shoulder replacement, or, a thyroid to be taken out. And if you're young and you live in fucking New Jersey and you think everything's hunky dory until it's not, because then all of a sudden magically you got osteosarcoma in your thigh. I mean, look, I don't have to tell you guys. You get on Twitter, stay on there enough, and you see people dropping dead that are fit as fuck. I just posted a picture today on the forum. You guys can go find it. One of my good friends sent me a picture of his uncle yesterday. He's 101 years old. Go look at that picture and tell me what he looks like. Does he look like Michelangelo's Adonis? There's a lesson there. And you have to decide what's more important to you: your hair, your makeup, your vanity, your ability to dance with men, women, or, transients, whatever your addiction is. Okay. I famously had somebody telling me in the last month, hey, I want to find love in my life. And that's the reason I really don't want to go to El Salvador. I said, I raised my hand in the middle of the consult. I said, time out. I said, you're 47 years old. Have you found anybody where you're at now? I said, no, you're 0 for 47. So what makes you think that you're going to find an idiot back when now they're geoengineering your cities? Like look, I need you guys to be savages. I know that you see the world through your eyes and your disease, but I need you to see it bigger. Just really go outside and look up and go, what are they doing? Like, do you think it's going to stop? No, they're buying farmland up. They're vaccinating your cows, your chickens. They are going to fuck you in the ass. I'm sorry. but I don't know how much more of a punch in the mouth I got to give all of you. In the last 2 years, I don't think I can go any harder than I've gone.
Mhm.
It's blatantly obvious what's going on. So now it's incumbent upon you to take the lesson and say, I got it. And even
Yes.
if you're going to do it, like our first caller, you're going to do it for 4 or 5 months and she's going to figure out how to do great. No, I'm never going to give you shit about that. And do I understand that? Not everybody can pick up and relocate. Got it. Loud and clear. But you need to ask me, or when you ask me, well, Jack, how do I deal with this brain tumor and this hydrocephalus? And I live in fucking Minnesota. You can't.
Mhm.
You can't. It goes back to what I told our first caller about that story. Like, if you go back into Chernobyl, how am I going to bring that down? Even if you're the best member ever, even if you do cold thermogenesis for 24/7, you decide to go back inside a vagina that's ice cold. Not going to work.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make to you guys. And I want you to understand, do your business plan, write down your top 10, what you got to have in your life. Don't lie to yourself. Look, if you say, look, I'm going to get my fucking hair done and I'm going to do this and I'm going to go out and dance with men. Okay. Put that on your list. That means no, El Salvador is not your choice. Then you need to go look at another place, probably Miami, maybe Key West, maybe San Diego. I don't know. That you have to make those determinations. But you have to remember, when you guys ask me these questions, I'm not going to give you a fucking B, C, or a D. I'm not. You're not paying me for a B, C, or D. And if you are, then you better, when you ask the question in the Q&A, tell me, hey, Jack, give me the B, give me the C, give me the D. Because I'm always going to assume when I'm talking to you, I'm all about the A.
Okay. I really appreciate everything that you just said. And what I'm hearing in that for myself is that I should actually sell my house sooner, right? Like
See, this is why you're a new member, but I love you, because guess what? I wish I could take you and put you in some of the people that are going to come after you, because they don't get that.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you something. Houses and families are the biggest anchors people have. Swear to God. And I know
Yeah.
it sucks to hear it, but it's
Mhm.
absolutely the truth. And it's the hardest thing to deal with. But the thing is, it's not something that I think that people have to talk on the Q&A. Like, I don't want to hear all your I don't want to call it bullshit, but your personal issues, that's more for a consult. But I want you all to understand, when you talk to me here, I understand that.
Mhm.
I get it. Like, I don't need you to fucking tell me. I get it. But you have to realize, when you say it and you're going to go all in there, then that means you're not going to get a B, C, or a D. Don't tell me that you want to live to 100 years and think that you're going to live in Southern California. That's just not going to work.
Yeah. Well, you're giving me a new game plan of the sooner I could get, and I'm concerned that housing prices are going to drop in California, or like the United States is
I
going to.
got to be honest with you. I really, if you don't believe me, I got friends in Florida that have told me Florida looks like and I'm talking about the best places in Florida, like would be the best places in California. Everything is for sale.
Okay.
So yes, that's why I said, this is when you want to talk nice to your husband. I'd even take him out to dinner, even though you're divorced.
Yes.
Wine and dine him so that you can get into his pocketbook that one last time.
I like it. You've given me a whole new game plan, a whole new strategy, and I appreciate that.
Good.
So I'm going to work on that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Next we have Tiffany. Tiffany, can you unmute your line, please?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Jack.
Mhm.
Had a question about the recent blackouts in Spain and everything that we
Yeah.
So any thoughts on it? Because I've heard some of the changes
Here's
with
the two sides. The conspiracy theories thinks the polls are going to flip. And
Mhm.
what's really going on is that the Spanish pissed off the guys in the desert and wouldn't sell them things that they wanted to sell. That's the real answer. So the people that control Israel, namely the Mossad and the bankers, are
Oh,
off. That's all you need to know.
oh,
But
shit.
if you want to believe the poll flip stuff, go ahead.
No.
It's a good thing. But
No, okay. So, okay, then that brought me to, all right, Bitcoin or you're without stuff. And I'm a little bit of a doomsday prepper myself. Is there anything you'd recommend? I mean, you know, I keep hearing that from a conspiracy standpoint, we might start seeing a lot of shit like that.
yeah,
Anything
there's
you recommend to
definitely
have?
going to be more stuff. But you have to
Yeah.
realize what I just said to the last lady is that if you understand truly what Trump's modus operandi is, and this is not just Trump, this would be if Kamala was in too, they have to crash the economy to get interest rates down
Right,
because they have to refinance 27 trillion in debt in the next 18 months.
right.
Okay. That's the reason why. So what does that mean for you? Okay. Here you are 50 years old. You got money in a 401k, you got money in a house. So do you really have that money? What have I tried to teach you about Bitcoin? Whoever custodies your money owns it. So your bank owns your fucking equity in the house. The bank
Right.
owns the money in the bank. The only thing you really own is your fucking Bitcoin. So if people are, I don't know, in Florida looking for Vienna sausages, you got a problem. So really, if you want to be a total prepper, you probably have to sell some of your savings and put a well in your property
Yeah.
and then probably put a big fence around your house and then put a generator in there and hope that you're good. Now, would I do that? No, because I think it's a waste of money.
Right.
Now, here's
Yeah.
the irony. In El Salvador, do I have a generator? Do I have a well? I do, but I didn't do it for that reason because my government here is more stable than your guys' government. And none of you believed that when I came here 4 years ago. But I'm telling you, I'm still correct.
Yeah.
The only problem we have here from a government standpoint is we're using your money. But see, that doesn't bother me because I already planned for that 10 years ago. And a lot of you didn't. Instead, you're interested in going to Starbucks and finding boyfriends and going to dance. What am I trying to tell you, Tiffany?
I know. Well, a real estate agent is coming to look at my Boston property this week.
Good.
So I'm going to look at getting it on the market by fall and then buying Bitcoin with the rest. I still own the Florida house, but yeah. So
That's
working
the
on moving
stuff
things.
you gotta worry about.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't think I wouldn't say high priority. I just think the way I look at it, if you don't have enough Bitcoin stock, like each one of you are going to look in the mirror and say, okay, I need 5.
Mm.
And then there's going to be somebody else here say, I need 10 because my wife likes to spend money, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Then you decide, okay. And then you make the determination, okay, what am I going to do? See, that goes into that business plan that everybody needs to get squared away. And the thing is, it's okay to have like I think a 10, 15, 20-year plan. But you know what the most important part for all of you are? A 6-month plan, a 1-year plan, an 18-month plan, and then a 3-year plan. You know why? Because that's your immediate future. And that's the thing that you have more probability in knowing what's going to happen. And since I already told you the overriding theme, kind of like the Rush song, is you have $27 trillion in debt to refinance. So if anybody here thinks that the United States is going to be able to rebuild this airplane as it's flying, you are way more optimistic than I am. Okay? Way more. So I'm going to tell you, my belief has always been that when we got to this point, this is when the government's going to have to act really fast to back bonds with Bitcoin. And then if you own a little bit of Bitcoin, you're going to be a lot of it happy. And then guess what you're going to say? Well, why the fuck do I want to live in the United States? Because guess what? The same thing that's going on in Northern Europe is going to go here. You're going to have people that Biden let through the country come ripping through Florida looking for Vienna sausages because they're hungry.
Yeah.
Got it? They're not there yet, but guess what? Were the people in Sweden and France 2 or 3 years ago when I told my European members it was coming? Or how about Christy's the perfect person to ask this. Do you remember the things that I told, what's her name? I'm blanking on her name. The lady from Alberta about getting out. Her husband owned a oil company. Corinne. She was a farm member too. I told her husband to sell the goddamn oil company they owned early. This is like 6-7 years ago. Alberta is now thinking about seceding from Canada after this election. Now, does that mean I'm smart? No, all it does is I'm paying attention to what's more probable than not. And I'm just telling you that if you think that you're skating away from what happened in Europe and Canada, you're out your fucking mind. Now, you are fortunate because you happen to live probably in the one state that is going to be more insulated. But what's your problem? All the fucking idiots that live where Christy lives and in New York, they're coming to you. So you're importing imbeciles. Like, this is like reading Atlas Shrugged in 6 months. You're going to go from a good place to a bad place like that. You got it?
Yeah.
So what did I just describe to you? Our first caller said, Jack, tell me what my childhood trauma is. What did I just tell you, Tiffany? The same fucking story. And I know you want a boyfriend. I know you want to go dance. I know you want all these things, but you ain't getting them in Florida anyway. Because guess what's coming? Christy will tell you, she knows about the men in California. I already know about the guys in New York. It's not like you're getting high quality meat to come to Florida. In fact, most of the meat's going to be vaccinated.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah. Okay, question then for cash in the stock market. So just waiting on some things to hopefully go back up, and then I would cash it out. You recommend putting it all in Bitcoin. Don't even play with the stocks.
Dude, I got news for you. It ain't going up.
So do I sell for a
I
loss?
told you that. I told you that a month ago.
I
You
know,
didn't-
but I'm stuck in it.
Oh, you're not stuck.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could cash
You
out
are
for a
never
loss.
stuck.
Okay.
Remember what I just told the lady from California about her husband? I said, yeah, you're divorced, but I want you to take him out to dinner, rub his feet, make him buy the house. What am I telling you? The same thing. Sell the stock, take the loss, put it in Bitcoin, and watch.
Okay.
You don't have a loss anymore. But you know what the problem is? You are married to your other decisions that were poor. Got it? That's called confirmational bias.
Yeah.
If you
And you know, sometimes it doesn't feel like the shit's really going down. Like, I don't know. Like sometimes
it wasn't going down. Ask the people in Sweden. It didn't go down until the people from fucking Africa started raping all their women. You're right. But guess what? You think that you're going to be able to see the tsunami coming. That's what you're telling me here.
I know. Well, it just feels really weird. Like, I don't know. This just doesn't feel real.
Okay. Well, then
I don't know why. Yeah.
Make your business plan. You decide what you want to do. This is the reason why I appreciate Anne-Marie. Just as you're doing with me now, she argued the fuck with me. And now she's like,
Yeah.
damn.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's just like the whole acknowledgement that this is like what life
It's
really
happening.
is.
You're in a fork turning. You go back and read the first 3 or 4 Bitcoin blogs, which I guarantee none of you gone back and looked. You should really go back and read those early Bitcoin blogs and see what I said.
Okay.
Because it's all happening.
All right.
Got to decide what you want to do. But what's my job? My job is to tell you, you have high heteroplasmy coming to you in the next 2 or 3 years. That's what's happening.
All right. Oh, and thanks for obviously everything you're doing with exposing all the frauds, and because honestly, people like me would not know who's good and who's not in this. So we all appreciate it.
Yeah, well, if anybody has got swindled, make sure you send the information to Christy, like she said. That's the number one thing.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Tiffany. Okay, next we have Allison. Allison, can you go ahead and mute your line, please?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Cruz, for letting me interview you and sharing the interview. I was really touched by that. You taught me about first principle thinking. I know learning quantum physics is absolutely the truth, and I experience everything firsthand. Now, also, I've been experiencing heart coherence from the Dr. Joe Dispenza. I know that's true as well, because once you see it, you just can't unseen. For a long time, I always thought light water magnetism is one thing plus heart coherence, until I got into quantum physics, because there's only one science of a universe. So I know the heart coherence has to fall into light water magnetism. So the one place I knew we're going to fit in is magnetism. So I've been trying to learn how those two integrate together. So my question is, how does heart interact with the native EMF, and also how the heart actually change how we respond to light, water, the three legs of stool,
What's
and
your heart
how.
filled with? What's your heart filled
Sorry.
with? What's your heart
Huh?
filled with? What's your heart filled with? With blood,
Blood, yeah, water, yeah.
correct? And what is the blood? 93% water. So what happens when you have, remember, red blood cells have no mitochondria. So you should ask yourself the question, do we make biophotons from our blood? The answer is we do. Even with no
Yeah.
mitochondria. It's not as good as it is when you have a nucleus. But what's the next thing? The water that's in your blood, is it got a lot of deuterium or not? It's got a
Yes.
lot, 150. So what does that mean? That means you have a deuterium sink on the outside. That's a Faraday cage protecting you on the inside. That allows you to be quantum coherent. That's how the system is built. So all the messy things that physicists are still trying to figure out, do they go on inside of us? That's where it goes inside. That's how it happens. That's where the quantum coherence comes from. And what do you know about heart rate variability? When somebody's really healthy, it's chaotic. It's more chaotic than when you're sick. When you're sick, you lose heart rate variability. What's that a function? The first lady asked me the question. Everything goes through the autonomic nervous system. Who's winning? Sympathetic or parasympathetic? And guess what that correlates to? How quantum coherent you are or not. That's the answer.
So your thoughts and feeling does make so much influence on how you actually utilize the light.
You still don't realize. I told you this in the podcast. I've told you on other Q&As. I've told you 6 times from Sunday. When you think it's a ultra weak biophoton release, it's not a fucking thought. It's light. Got it?
Yeah.
If the
I
light
know that.
is more coherent, what does that mean? More single frequency, more powerful. What else did I tell you in your podcast, but you weren't listening? That the inverse square law tells you at the mitochondrial level that the light is more powerful there in the sun, even though the intensity is not great. It's at a short distance. It can do amazing things.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's the part you're forgetting. You're not listening. You got the Joe Dispenza thing in your head. Stop. He doesn't understand physics. He's selling you woo. He's just like, what's her name? He's just like what's her name. But you are attracted to it. And then you want to bring it here. And I don't want to hear it. I really don't. Put it in your journal. Great. I'm out. I'm not interested in all that. Why? Because it's not foundational. What it is?
No, it's not.
It's kind of, I'm going to tell you what Joe Dispenza is for me. It's like when I go to the Sistine Chapel and I look up and I see the 2 fingers together, that's Joe Dispenza. He's Michelangelo. But you know what I'm interested in? The white piece of plaster between those 2 fingers. That's what I'm interested in. That's how I want you to think about it.
Yeah.
And then you get to decide who's more right or wrong for you. But I'm going to be honest with you. When you come here and you're talking to Q&A and you want to give a lecture about this, don't. Do a podcast with Joe Dispenza and then people can listen to it. Okay? But understand what makes you quantum coherent, what makes you more conscious is the light that gets released from your mitochondria, from your tissues, is more tightly coherent, meaning one frequency, very powerful, can do things that don't seem possible. And the only reason it seems it's actually highly probable is because at small scales, we're talking atto and femtoseconds, light is more powerful than anything on this planet. And the light that comes in from out is diffused. This is the reason why red light panels suck. Okay? What's the best thing to do? Take your fucking clothes offside and go outside. I don't care if you're on the pole or anywhere else. Nothing replaces the sun for that reason, but the sun is not as good as the light that your mitochondria makes. So when Tiffany says, I want to have a new boyfriend, you know how the best way for her to get it is to go in a cold tub in Florida because they're blocking the sun. Then she can make that light inside of her. Got it? Or
Yeah.
if you are watching Joe Dispenza and you want to feel more in touch, embrace more CT. When you know that you can't get the light from above, because the way you're supposed to get it is we're supposed to focus all the light from the sun into the cell and distribute it. The problem is our system right now that we've built, the technocracy, is blocking that method. So now you need to go in other methods. Got it? That's the key. And the less that the light is blocked from being distributed, the less quantum coherent you can be. This is what effectively a low dopamine state is, a low melatonin state. This is what being an obedient idiot is. This is when you get the idea that I'd rather stay in Southern California and go dancing than save my life to get to 101 years old. But guess what? I'm okay with that. That's why we have casinos. You get to make free will. You get to make your choice. You have to decide what you want to do. And if you get enjoyment from Joe Dispenza, I'm never going to take that away from you. But when you're on a Q&A and you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. And the
I
truth,
love that you tell the truth.
I don't like Joe Dispenza. I look at Joe Dispenza just like I look at Kiera. Fucking scammer, because they don't tell you the truth.
Oh, I totally understand what you're saying. I shouldn't actually mention his name. I should focus on the heart.
Well, you called me Joe in the beginning. I heard it. Don't think I didn't hear it. You said,
Gosh,
Dr. Joe.
I'm so sorry. If
No,
I
but
did that, I'm
I
so
pay
sorry.
attention. Trust me, I don't miss too much.
I want to say that I am living in the beautiful life because of you, Dr. Cruz. I hope you remember first time I cried because I got into your work and I totally live by the laws of nature. So I couldn't be happier. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing to amplify your work. But I also know the heart is actually part of my journey. By living the laws of nature, making me opening my
The
heart
heart is
more.
everybody's
easier.
journey, sweetheart. It's everybody's
Yeah.
journey. Look, this is what I would tell you. Q&As are for questions. Like when you come on here the last 2 times, you need to put all this stuff in a journal. That's what you really need to do. You, out of all the new members, you're the #1 member. And if you don't want to put it publicly, I'm okay with that. But because you're so passionate, I think you need to start to write. You need to get a physical journal and write this stuff out. And then when you have questions, then put that in your journal and say, okay, let's talk about this. Just like you did this time. I want you to understand where Joe Dispenza begins and where it ends, because I think that's important. Like for me, you have to realize, for me, you know who Joe Dispenza was? That's what being Catholic and Christian was for a big part of my life. And I remember sitting under the Sistine Chapel and looking up there. And I'm like, there's a story on that ceiling, but it ain't the story that I'm being sold. And I knew that. I just didn't know that I had to focus in on the space, the little white blaster between those 2 fingers. And when I realized that, what was the idea that I got? I said, you know something? I think Michelangelo knew this too. Why? Why did he paint that? Why did he make it so the fingers didn't touch? Because he knew something, that the smallest things in life that he couldn't hope to sense those were the things that you're asking the question about the heart, about the brain, about the thinking. That's where they are. That's the reason we are human. Okay? And that little area, that's what I want you to focus in on. And when you start to see, like if you read that ALS log and you saw how detailed that was, can you only imagine what it's like when we get to consciousness, when we get to how we really think, to why is it that people who demyelinate can't think? Why do they resemble people that get tattoos and metal on their body? Why do they resemble the people that live, around Christie? Why do they tend to congregate in Seattle? Why really can't Tiffany find a boyfriend in Florida? It's not because Tiffany's not nice. It's because everything and around her is this is what's happening, Allison. The fingers aren't close together. So you can't make the connection. And you're saying, Jack, I want to make the connection. Well, guess what? That's what your heart does. Your heart connects the sun to the colony of mitochondria so that you can make that coherent light. Got it? That is the connection that you're looking for. You're not going to find that in Joe Dispenza's lecture. He's going to paint the ceiling white, and you're never going to see the two fingers together. And he's going to sell you a nice course like Kira did to Alexis's members. And you're going to feel really good about it. Do you know that is the sign of a beautiful marketer when they make you feel good about robbing from you? Okay.
I love how you said the heart is connected with all of that. That's exactly where I am at. I don't do the meditation anymore because I don't need it. Life on earth is too good to close your eyes and that's where I'm at. I'm just trying to find the connection because they're all real to me, but I think I got there because of the last interview we did together. There's so many aha moments, and I know where it's all fit into the pieces. So thank you so much. Another question about melanin. You mentioned that blue light destroy melanin. But melanin absorbs all frequency of light. And I was thinking, why does the melanin just absorb it? Why is it all, destroyed?
This is your best question.
I have another best question coming too.
No, this one is really good. Do you know why? What's the mechanism of what happens when the UPE releases? And now I'm asking you to put some lessons together. What happens with every opsin? The vitamin A comes out. The vitamin A destroys everything around it. Destroys melanin. Got it? So as soon as the vitamin A gets out of the corral, it's kind of like Tiffany getting unleashed in a Chippendales with a stack full of ones. Everybody is in trouble. Okay?
Yeah.
Especially if Chantel's with her. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So guess what? Your question is good. So the next question you should ask yourself, and you heard what I just told you about scale, that means that the UPEs are at atto and femto levels. It's way below nano. So this disease process is happening at the subatomic level, and it magnifies over time. So that goes back now to Kathy's question. It goes back to our first member's question. That's how heteroplasmy begins. And guess what? You only come to understand it until it's at the macro level. But what does it tell me? Somebody who's got ALS, who gets diagnosed, they've already had ALS for 10 years and never knew it. Got it? Because this process at the atto and femto level has been going on when your wife, your husband, your family doesn't know, because it's not obvious yet that the action potentials are gone. Now, if you happen to have a disease where it happens in the brain and it's obvious and you start acting like a fucking idiot, like some of our members have done recently on the forum, then it becomes very obvious. Then you go, oh, you're crazy because your problem is in your head. Okay? But here's the good thing. Even if you're crazy in your head, what is the beautiful part of this story? Can bring the fingers closer together and you get better. Understand that all the craziness is a symptom that you're not quantum coherent with your environment. That I need you to be more like a wilded human, and then you can get better. Now, do I believe that ALS is also curable? I do, but the problem is, think about what I just told you. They've had 10, 15 years of this damage going on. You understand what I'm saying? So guess what? That tunnel that's dug out, it's different for every disease. That means some diseases, they present very late. Do you remember what I said earlier in this call? That ALS is a diagnosis of exclusion. We rule everything else out, and that we're left with that. Do you know why? Because it's so hard to figure out. That's the reason why. Is it hard to figure out if you have bipolar disorder and you're posting bullshit on the forum where everybody knows you're fucking crazy? No. It's obvious. But guess what? That's not the way you need to think about it. That tells you where the electric scar is in their nervous system. That tells you why they're not quantum coherent. Do crazy people bother me? Do people that have heart issues? The people that think Joe Dispenza is great, do you bother me? No, I understand. You need to understand. I get it. I always tell people, it's funny too, because I'm listening to Tool in the background. That Tool song that I used in Vermont in 2018. I know how people fall apart because I've seen them put back together. And I've done this for 35 years. And don't think that I've seen one ALS patient. Don't think I've seen one bipolar patient. Don't think I've seen one GBM patient. Every single patient teaches me. They teach me because I observe. I don't forget. You may think that I'm not, but I don't miss too much. And I focus my attention from my members. The reason why I got pissed off yesterday is because that was an attack on my membership. Do I really care if Kiera is stealing from people who are not my tribe? No. In fact, I encourage that. You know why? That would be like Tiffany, say, has a sister who lives in Boston. I don't care if she owns a shitcoin and stays in Boston. She's not my member. I have no allegiance to her at all. Now, Tiffany doesn't feel that way because it's her sister, or maybe she does. Maybe she hates her sister. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make to you is remember what nature teaches us. Not everybody's going to make it, okay? Not every baby seal gets away from the great white sharks. So you have to stop thinking that you have to save the world. You know who you have to save? You and your family. That's it. And sometimes if your family doesn't want to be saved, then you got to make a tough decision. And who am I? I'm just the guy to point that out to you. I'm not telling you to do it. Just like I'm not going to tell you, okay, I think you need to get divorced, or maybe you need to think about this, that. Am I going to mention it to you? Yeah. I'll say to you, can you tell me why you're staying with a loser? Just out of curiosity. And do you understand how that's creating your heteroplasmy? Because guess what? The heteroplasmy rate is just like getting a vaccine, just like living in Colorado. And if you really want to magnify it, can you imagine being vaccinated, married to an asshole, and living in California? I mean, there's your trifecta. And then you want to know, okay, so why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I not quantum coherent? Why do I want to listen to Joe Dispenza all day? Because you're not quantum coherent. And you're trying to find this. This is what you're trying to find, Allison. This right here. Let me tell you something. You know how big an asshole I felt when I'm in fucking Italy that time, and I look up at the fucking ceiling and I looked at the back of David's ass, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, I cannot fucking believe it. When you realize it, let me tell you something. That's the biggest punch in the mouth in my entire life. I will never forget that day.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing now on all the blogs? Boy, you're seeing David's ass a lot. You're seeing that center panel. And what I keep telling you, focus on the white plaster. Because that is where the answer is.
Yeah. Amazing. Another question around the melanin is after I put down the list of evolution of life you talk about in our interview from Great Oxidation Event, and then also that everything has happened for a reason for the next. That just make me think what the latest one is melanin, right? To 1.2 million years ago. What is nature preparing us for? And then I thought about you talking about the mushroom in Chernobyl, just growing so fast and absorbing all the EMFs. And also thought about how you mentioned in your Vermont talk, a girl talk about how good it will be if there is a battery to absorb the frequencies and power the iPhone. And I was thinking, isn't the melanin is going to be that? You know, if we
Yeah,
have,
of course it is, but that you just answered your own question. Nature is telling you the answer. You have horrible radiation. Melanin is coming to clean it up. Well, when are you going to get that message for you? Because that's the answer. That's the best semiconductor on the planet right now. We don't have a better one. But guess what? What's growing faster, AI or melanin? Tell me. And who uses AI? Humans. And you're telling me you want to live in California. Tiffany wants to live in
I live in,
it doesn't matter.
Dr.
You're not listening to the I don't need you to answer the question. It's a rhetorical question.
yeah.
It's the inverse square law. That's the answer. The mushrooms are telling you the lesson. You know what the mushrooms are telling you? The fingers are coming closer together. It's becoming habitable again. You want to know what's going to make Los Angeles habitable? When about 10 million of them die. And trust me, the government's working on that. So you have to be the smart. You have to be the wise mammal and say, I understand the game plan that's going on. It's kind of like what I just said to Tiffany. What is more probable than not? You have to decide.
Is New Zealand a good place?
No. Did you look at the latitude? It's volcanic. It's also a prison. Australia and New Zealand. Why isn't Kiera in Australia? Why is she scamming people here? Because it's a better place. Better place to scam people because she's not in jail.
Mm. All right. I think I asked all the questions I want to ask. Thank you so much, Dr. Cruz.
All right.
Appreciate your
Take care.
honesty.
Thank you. Okay, Ryan, you are next to speak live. If you can unmute your line, please.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Hey, Dr. Jack, how's it going?
Good.
I just had a question about your own personal due diligence with respect to when you're eating out, let's say you're going to Monarca or wherever it may be.
The only place
How
I
do
go.
you, the only place you go?
I don't eat anything else because I know what you're going to ask me. I'm not eating the shit you're eating, brother. I pay top dollar for all my food. I'm not going to eat anything that's
So how do you
go straight to the source.
you know everything they're sourcing?
Yep. Fernando Arguez is one of my friends. I've been in his kitchen. Anybody who is at the member event knows that I've been in that kitchen. So I know exactly where the food comes from. When he comes out and says, Jack, I have oysters, I ask him, where'd the oysters come from? That's how you do it, my friend. But what's the key? What is the key for you to understand? This is a good question. Do you need to know this stuff? You, as a young savage, probably can get away with more than I can. Remember, I'm 60 years old. I just gave up fucking 5 years of my life to go back out into the hospital and figure this bullshit out with COVID. Am I pissed off that I did it? Yeah, but I needed to do it because I don't think anybody else was going to do it. Now you know. So now what do I got to do? I got to make sure that I can keep my heteroplasmy rate low. You know why I don't live in Florida? You know why I don't live in Louisiana? You know why I don't live in fucking California? Got the message, bro? Because I just gave up maybe a decade and a half of my life in 5 years to tell you the fucking truth. And I'm going to tell you again, so you get it loud and clear. It ain't about the food. But here's the but. But if you live in California, in New York, in the United States, it might be about the food soon. Because guess what? They're going to start putting things in that food that make your heteroplasmy rate go up. All of a sudden, Tiffany's going to be like, wait a minute. When I go to Morton Steakhouse and my cow has been popped 5-6 times, is that a good thing? You bring up a very good point. Is this another thing that the savages need to think about when the government is centralized? I think you guys do have to worry about that in the United States. I absolutely do. Do I have to worry about it as much as you do? No. But have I already talked about this with my non-member Tom, who's married to my member Nancy, who I love? Yeah, we've talked about it. You have to be careful about where you source the meat from. And him and I have talked about it the last time that he was here for this Q&A. You need to know where you're buying and what you're buying. It's becoming a way bigger issue where you guys are. And I think, you need to talk to the farmers. You need to talk to the people going out. I will tell you, and this is the thing that kills me. If I was in Louisiana, it would kill me not to go to the French Quarter because that's the things I like to do. But that is actually a danger. That's actually like going to the pediatrician and having to skate around an injection, because that's exactly what it is. So your point is well taken.
Okay, thanks, Jack. How about do you not use a landline at your Ethernet at your place?
I don't have any landline here, but I will tell you, I will show it to you. It's on airplane mode.
Hmm.
And
So you're fine with what?
If you ask anybody who knows me, I don't really talk on the phone too much. Pisses Chantal off to no end. She was like, why didn't you call me? Like, because I don't want to fucking talk on the phone. How's that? You want to talk to me? Then come talk to me. Now, she'll tell you right now, but I sent her away. You're right. I did send her away. Absolutely. But you have to figure that out, dude, for you. Like, how you're going to do it with your wife? How are you going to do it with your job? How is that a big problem? Like, for example, does Tiffany have a different issue than Allison does than Christy does? Yeah, in terms of how we use technology. But what have I always told you? If you know that you're a tech abuser, then I need you to do more right and less wrong. Like, the same thing is true. What you're bringing to the table about food is what I would turn around and say to Christy in California, or Anne-Marie in Colorado. Now, Anne-Marie didn't like that message. She fought with me pretty good the last couple of months. Now, you see, Anne-Marie didn't fight with me at all. Then she asked me a spectacular question about how heteroplasmy goes up and down. So guess what? You guys learned something about how it actually happens. And I'm going to tell you, the other reason why food isn't that big a deal is because it's not something that really raises your heteroplasmy. I don't have to talk to you guys about processed food because I know most of you are not eating it. It's easy to avoid Fruit Loops and red dye number 6. But you, my friend, bring something to the table. Jack, is it going to be easy to avoid vaccinated cows in the United States soon? No, you're going to have more money to do that. You're going to have to buy it directly from ranchers. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, that magic of living in Los Angeles and living in Florida, boy, it's going to really rub off, because when you guys are on Tinder looking for new men or new women, you're going to realize all of them are vaccinated just because they eat cows or chickens or eggs, whatever they're going to do. But just rest assured, they are going to do it.
Right. So it's the difference between heteroplasmy and then getting infiltrated by mRNA technology.
Well, it's the same thing. If you remember what I said to Anne-Marie, because I want to make sure you get this. Everything raises or declines that heteroplasmy. So if you're eating food that is suboptimal, and I like to break it down to the atomic level, then that food is a problem. Now, when you add in the atomic problem, let's say with processing, and then, okay, the cow got 6 injections that actually have substantivity because they use the lipid nanoparticle, and you're going to get that. That's like you going out and banging a chick that took, 3 Moderna shots. Think that's a good idea? I think you've already got that message. But no, that's probably not something you want to do. But you can put a rubber on, right? And still have your fun. How are you going to put a rubber on your fucking steak? Tell me. Have you figured that out? Because if you have, let me know. See, I've already figured that out for me. You got to figure it out as a young savage. That's part of the reason why I've been giving, people like Tiffany a hard time. You think you got it so good where you're at. Well, let's really look at it. Let's really look at what you got. Because the smart move right now, as far as I'm concerned, go to a place where there's a bunch of savages, and you know what's going to wind up happening? The people that really care about you. Remember the analogy I use in Alexis's podcast, that it's like a bug light in Home Depot. The big fucking bugs can't get, but they're all tracking that UV light. The little bugs get in there and get zapped. That's the way you have to look at your life. You really want to help your family? Do not tell them to wear glasses. Do not tell them to go to Kiera's course. Do not tell them to do this, that, or the other thing. Build a sanctuary somewhere where you know that they'll want to come. Like they're going to say to you, Ryan, when I come hang out with you, I feel good. I feel like we're having a good time. Because the best thing, in my opinion, isn't what we're doing right now over the internet. The best thing is when you're here and we're chatting and having this discussion over a steak. That's the best way to do it. And that to me is the essence. See, that's what thriving is, and what most of you are getting ready to have to face in the United States. Survival. It's what Tiffany said. She said it without actually saying it. And I wondered how many people were really getting the message that all of you truly are preppers already and don't know it.
For sure. What about are you?
That's the guy in the room, punching your mouth about this, but dude, there's a reason I'm where I'm at and where you're at. And the reason why is because I saw it coming. And the reason I saw it coming, only one reason. I was a doctor seeing what they were doing to my patients and how they were killing them. And I saw it for 20 years. And when I figured it out, I couldn't believe it, that it's a systemic program.
Do you have your internet hardwired there?
Right now, no. But I did. I just changed my internet.
So do you accept Wi-Fi to a certain extent? Do you have sort of a?
Yes and no. Most of the time, you can see I'm usually outside or out on the back deck. So what's the benefit to me? The benefit to me is I'd rather be outside when I'm doing it. Like, take a look at where you are now. You're inside an RV. Okay. Yeah. You don't have any of the outside in. You're probably hardwired, to a dish on the top. That's good, but you're not getting any of the outside in. So what do you think is the better choice? Ultimately, if you test, you'll find out. Believe it or not, as long as you're outside, you're better off. Like, I will tell you, my big problem, I don't like being in a house anymore. I get screamed at all the time because I'm a Bitcoin bum. All I have is shorts on. I have no shoes. I'm not kidding you. I live truly like a bum. If I had to live in a refrigerator box on that front yard, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The gusts today were terrible, so I had to come indoors. But all right, well, that's good to know. And that's all the questions I've got. So I appreciate it, Jack.
All right, take care.
You too.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's see, Eileen, you are next to speak live. Can you unmute your line, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I just did. Thank you. All right. Hi, Dr. Cruz.
How are you?
I'm I'm okay. I'm
Good.
okay. I'm relatively new since December. Um, I started looking at the sunrise every morning, which is new for me. I went to Mexico this winter, got super tan. Um,
Good.
been trying to, do the biohacking, eating lots of fats and proteins, and my doctor was like, no, because I tested in December, I tested for cholesterol and stuff and all. And she was like, my cholesterol was super high. And she's like, you got to stop with the fats and proteins. But I was
Oh,
not eating any fat. I was eating carbohydrates. And that's why I think my cholesterol was so high. So now I'm eating fats and proteins, and I'm just curious what it is now. So anyway, so my question is this: I'm 66, and I'm cautious, and my hormones are just not doing well. And
where do you live?
well, okay, I've been all over the place, so I don't.
No, I'm not asking you where you've been. Where are you at right now?
Oh, right now, not in a good place.
Where?
I'm in the middle of California,
So let me ask you a question. Um,
but I'm just here temporarily. I'm not. I don't live here.
okay, but have
I
your
plan to
hormones
move to Georgia. I plan to
have
move
your
to.
hormones been trashed for a long time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if they've been trashed for a long time, then you ultimately need to realize, since you're new, you have to decide, do I want to optimize that CYP system that controls your sex steroid hormones? That's a heme protein. That means you cannot miss a sunrise ever the rest of your life. If not, if you know you can't do that, or you live in California, or you're going to move to Georgia, uh, then you're probably going to have to start thinking about bioidentical hormones. What's the number one hormone for a woman your age that you're going to be the most interested in? Is probably progesterone. Why? Because it allows you to keep more water. Remember what I said to Allison on her podcast when she gave me that stuff about the baby's hypnotized and all that bullshit? And I said, no, no, no. The baby's got more water, and me and you in our 60s, we have less water. We're dried prunes. So we need more water. So what does progesterone do? It's called progestation. Women, when they're pregnant, they're filled with water. That's why their asses get big, their tits get huge, their ankles swell like Hillary Clinton's, because they're retaining water. Why? Because the baby needs that sunlight to become an alien inside that in the uterus. So when you're 66 and you want to feel better, you need that water to do it. You now hopefully know, as a new member, well, we make water from AM sunlight because we have to fix the heme protein, that CCO thing. That's the whole big key mechanism. And I
Yeah.
promise you, you're going to get more blogs on that. You're going to be so overwhelmed with those blogs. You're going to be like, okay, I got it. You don't have to tell me again. But you need to understand,
Yeah.
you
I have
need
a
more of
question though
that.
about,
But you need more of that. Listen to me.
okay.
66 years old, when
Yeah.
the sun rises, because you're a dried prune,
Yeah.
you need to sit outside for 4 or 5 hours.
You
So
mean right from
look at
the,
me. Do you know that I've been right here since the sunrise? Take a
oh,
look at what time it is.
okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And guess what? Then you got to
So
say,
not just outside for, 15 minutes.
you think you can renovate a heme protein? Look, didn't you just tell me, Jack, I lived in California, I'm heading to Georgia, and I'm a dry prune, and I don't want to be a dry prune. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that, because you're bringing something really good to the table. And I want you to understand that
My question though about the bioidentical hormones is that there's, even though they're bioidentical, they're synthetic and they're made in China. So I'm just nervous about going on them.
totally with you. Isn't that Ryan's question? Bioidentical hormones for a woman that wants to be juicy again is kind of like eating steak from Costco in California.
Wow.
You're rolling the dice.
Okay.
So, as I've said to many of my girls on consults, how bad you want it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say to you, because what's more important to you? That or time on the earth? And that's not a question I want you to answer now, because it's a rhetorical question. Because I'm going to tell you, as a man, if I'm in love with you and you're dry as a prune, I'm going to squirt all kinds of stuff in you so that we still have fun. It's not going to stop me from spending time with you. And I want you to understand that I don't care if you're not like a great from Concord that you can squirt everywhere. I'm perfectly okay with that. Do you understand? Because guess what? As we get older,
Yeah.
things kind of happen. What's more important is that you have the person
Yeah.
that you're with, whether it's a friend, whether it's a dance partner,
Yeah.
whether it's, your Tinder date in Florida, whatever it is
Yeah. It's true.
that you get to spend time with. But remember what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I really appreciated Ryan's, question about the food. I don't really spend a lot of time about food, but I think I'm going to have to start talking about food
Yeah.
in the future. Damn birds. Bird hit the window again.
Oh,
He didn't die though. He flew away.
good.
The point I'm trying to make to you is it's kind of what I say to a lot of my women who do consults with me. Make a business plan and tell me what you really want. And if you tell me that that's really like a big part of your life, then I'm never going to make you feel bad about that. But then I'm going to tell you, this is the way I want you to do it. I want you to use a compound pharmacy. I want you to make sure your progesterone comes from the United States. Remember what I said to Ryan? I go into the chef, Fernando, in Minorca, and I know what you got. So if you came to the member event, which I think some of you did come, you saw that I went in and talked to the chef. If you don't think that meal was planned, I knew none of you got any bad food. That shit matters to me. But I'm going to tell you the same thing. When you go to the compound pharmacy, just say the compound pharmacy. Where are you sourcing your components from? If he tells you, yeah, they're coming from Costco, Sam's, or China, which I got to be honest with you, because the United States supply chains are so broken, probably pretty likely, especially if you live in a big area. If you live in a more rural area, you probably have a better chance that the pharmacist is actually building it from scratch. But then you got to ask the next question. Okay, especially if you've seen the post that I put on Twitter the other day about hydrogen machines and brown gas machines and the ZZ pathway and all that about deuterium, which nobody's talking about. When I told Alexis yesterday that I was going after the biophysicist, I'm not fucking with anybody anymore. I want you all to know there's risks in everything you do. So you need to understand how big is the risk. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think the risk of your bioidentical hormones at 66 years old, I don't think it's that big a risk. Do I think the risk that Ryan brought up, like if he told me, hey, I live in Los Angeles and I buy all my meat from Costco, Ryan's more fucked than you are.
Okay.
In other words, what did I just say? I told you it's Anne-Marie's first question. Like, did you get your ass whipped and get raped and all kinds of other stuff? Or was it just, somebody said something to you and it made you feel bad? There's a difference, right? And that difference is in the autonomic nervous system and how high the heteroplasmy rate is up. And do I know that certain women respond to their hormones being out of whack more than others? No question about it. There's some women when their hormones out of whack, you don't want to be anywhere near them.
Yeah.
So if you're that person, then I think that becomes a little bit more important to you. But if it's more of a vanity issue and you're worried about how your husband or boyfriend is going to feel, or even if yourself, like if you're having sex and it hurts, girlfriend, go out to the kitchen and get some coconut oil and get to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is I've been tanning a lot, and I used to have perfectly beautiful brown skin, and now I've got brown dots, white dots, red dots, just so many dots. I'm like, I don't know if this is
That's where they're coming from. Your environment. Take a look around. Don't see anything? Oh, there you go. Oh, guess what? It turns out the reason why your skin is that way is the same reason why your hoo-ha is like the Gobi Desert. There's your answer. But you know what? Ladies don't want to think about it. That's why, like, oh, is that the reason why I have to put more dye in my hair? Is that the reason I have to wear more makeup? Oh, yes. And guess what? Kim Kardashian is going to be there for you. That's why she's got $1.7 billion. She is the Kiara of women.
Shit.
And let me just tell you something. This
So it's
is,
not
and
the
this is,
sun. It's not the sun that's giving me the dots. It's the damn other shit.
you got it.
Yeah.
And guess what? This is the most important thing. I want all my ladies to know. I want you fucking naked outside like a savage. You'll make more water that way. And it's true. You may have already had enough damage where no, the things that you want come back. But I'm going to tell you as a new member, there's a lady on the forum. She's never on Q&As, but her name's Neurotic Farmer on the forum. She posted something in one of the girls' journals that I thought was beautiful. And I think every lady needs to know this. She hadn't had her period in like 10 years because she did everything you possibly could do wrong. And she moved to Costa Rica. She left the United States. She posted in this lady's journal that literally 2 or 3 months ago, she got her period back. So she went for all this time
Wow.
thinking she could never have a baby, you know, from the time she was, I think, 20 to like 33, 34. And now she's like, fuck, I could actually. So the point I'm trying to make to you, what did she do? She changed her environment. She got naked as a jaybird and she went out and she did it.
Wow.
You know, and now she's like, and believe it or not, she goes, now I have men that are interested in me. And this is what ladies don't understand. Remember what I told you about the bug light story? I meant it literally, but also figurative. When men are not attracted to you, you know why? Because your fucking pilot lights out. Okay? It's not your fucking makeup or your tits or anything else. Your pilot light. Okay? Don't forget that. But Kim Kardashian is going to convince you, you know, that your teeth are not white enough and, you know, your lipstick isn't red and, you know, your ass is too fat. No, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
Men are attracted to women who have pilot lights.
Okay. All right. All right. And I've got anxiety too. So that's another thing I
I
have.
have anxiety talking to you. I want you to get, don't you realize that this is tied together? What did I tell you before? New member, you got bad skin,
Yeah.
a Gobi Desert, and why do you think your brain's not working? Remember, the skin and the brain come from the same.
Well, it was actually the brain that went down first.
That's even worse.
That was when I was in my 30s.
There you go. So guess what you're telling me? Your heteroplasmy rate's kind of like what Amory brought up. So I need you to do more. And the thing is, California, Georgia, no. Girlfriend, it's time for you to do something a little bit different. You really want back what you want, then that means you need to do a little bit more. That's the message I'm giving you. But then you have to decide, like I said to the other girls, like I said to Allison, you want a B, C, or D, or you want an A? Because if you want an A, oh, okay, I'm ready to talk to you.
Yeah.
But I realize, especially when I'm talking to people on the forum or when I do a consult, I realize literally within 15 minutes, what do they want?
They
And guess what?
they want a B or a C.
And most of them will tell you, no, I want an A. But then you listen to them and like,
Yeah, they
oh, you
don't.
know.
No, they don't.
So guess what that tells me? As the doctor, you're willing to lie to yourself, so I know you're going to lie to me. See, I tell you, I'm a bad motherfucker like that. I really am. I don't let people off the hook. So I want you to understand who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Because I don't hold any judgment against any of you at all. You are my tribe. I'm trying to make you savages. Whether you're a B savage, a C savage, or a D savage, you get to be the kind of savage that you want.
Well, all right. Well, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I have a little bit of money. Then I'm thinking about doing the Bitcoin thing. So I heard you say it's a good company, and I wrote it down.
Yeah, Unchained Capital.
Yeah, Unchained Capital. I'm gonna
Unchained.
go Unchained. Sorry, Unchained Capital.
Remember,
Yeah.
it's decentralized. If you were chained, it would be chained capital. That's what Goldman Sachs is called.
Okay. Because I want to be able to go for the winters. Get out of the state. So, I need to make some money. So that might be a good idea.
You buy Bitcoin, and that's like having another job that you
Okay.
don't have to work at.
All right.
That's what I've been trying to tell Tiffany, but she doesn't listen to me.
Okay. But you don't have to sit on the computer all day long if you're in the, that's what always turned me off about Bitcoin was like, it's all about computers and like, you
Yeah,
never.
bro. I haven't looked at my Bitcoin price. In fact, now you're going to make me do it. I haven't looked all day. In fact, the person that kept me on the computer was Alexis Cowan because she was crying to Chantel. We need to do a podcast. We need to do this and that.
I love Alexis. I love her
What
podcast.
have I been doing? I've been listening to fucking Alice in Chains literally since Friday. Right now, Alice in Chains is on in the background. I've been listening to Tool. That's what I do. I've been in the pool. I've been in the pool 3 times already today.
Nice.
I actually made it an
Is it a
unvaccinated
What do
state.
you think about chlorine? Is chlorine horrible? Because I
Yeah,
could.
it's horrible. It's
It's
in the
horrible.
same periodic table as fluorine. No, thank you.
Okay.
And,
So I was
and your
gonna-
6 are already dried out. Stop.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
stop.
Okay. All right.
Still didn't look at Bitcoin.
Okay.
95.8.
It's going up.
Well, I mean, if you would have listened to me a month ago, it was 75. You'd
Well, there-
really.
There you go. It's a good sign. Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, no problem. See you.
All right. Bye.
Okay, next we have Noah. Noah, can you go ahead and unmute your line, please?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, doctor, I was trying to turn on my camera real quick, but it looks like I have to do
All
that in
right.
my
We don't need a
settings.
camera. Just talk.
Okay, so, well, I just want to thank you first off for all the work you do because I'm a new member. This is actually my first month, and I've been really trying to push your message and push the podcast and get it out there because I really feel that you're hitting on things that nobody else is talking about, and it feels like a godsend, really, and that kind of ties
I got
into.
called the cult member today, in case you don't know. Thought that was interesting.
Well, whatever
one
one.
of Alexis's people that is mad at Alexis. Now I'm a cult member.
Yeah, I mean, people say a lot of bullshit, and we all know that. But my question is, and we also have a consult in the morning. So if you think this is too detailed for this, then let me know and I can stop. But my daughter, it's my second daughter, and she's been in the NICU for 8 weeks now, and she cannot.
What's wrong with her? Preemie?
No, she wasn't a preemie. She was full term. My wife, she had restless legs throughout both of our pregnancies. So this is our second daughter. Our other one is 19 months old.
How old's your wife?
She is 28 from Czech Republic.
Okay. And she was born in Czech Republic when she moved here.
She moved here about 8 years ago.
I'm going to tell you the number one thing just already from this, you need to get a real detailed history about her grandmother, her mother, and her. Because remember the story I told Anne-Marie? As soon as I hear this, 28's restless leg, that tells me her DLF is off. Her heteroplasmy rate's pretty high. Did she have toxemia pregnancy at all?
What would that entail?
That'd be like they had to give her magnesium. Her blood pressure was crazy.
Her blood pressure was fine, but she was trying to supplement with magnesium to kind of calm the restless legs. And the RL only hits in on the 3rd trimester. So she was, and this time it just got so bad. So she went full term, and then we scheduled the induction like 3 days after full term. And she had a lot of amniotic fluid. Around 38 weeks is when they picked that up on the ultrasound. But that kind of ties into the symptoms that she's still experiencing, which is she can't swallow.
Yeah.
And she,
well, just so you know, the DLF, I'm going to tell you where to read about this since you're a member. Quantum Engineering, I think it's 47, 48.
Okay.
There's a really nice blog that ties to the restless legs, but it also ties to sleep, but it ties to the swallowing issue. Why? Because there's a brainstem issue. It's really close to something called the nucleus tractus solitarius. That's the reason why this happens. So already you've told me that your wife's heteroplasmy rate is high in her brainstem. So why am I worried about this? Well, I just released the ALS blog, right?
mm-hmm.
So you've given me a lot. And the fact that the baby has been in the hospital long, dude, that baby's heteroplasmy rate is going through the roof. What's going on with the baby?
So she just can't swallow, and she had hypertonic, so her muscle tone was tight.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
was the two symptoms. And, you know, the problem is we're up against the wall right now because I'm talking about second opinions. And supposedly this is the number one neonatologist and neurologist, dual specialist. She won't toot her own horn, but all the doctors, they're tooting her horn. And it's like,
Where are
just
you at? Where is
Orange.
this?
I'm at Chalk, Orange County.
Okay.
And it's Terry Ender. Have you ever heard of her?
No, but I mean, I'm just going to tell you that all those neonatologists, they are used to taking care of babies that are sick as fuck, because when you understand what I'm trying to teach people, this is the kind of shit when you do have a baby, and mommy and daddy have high heteroplasmy rate and don't know it. This is what happens. And you're in fucking Orange County, which is like everything against you here is a deal. The issue with the swallowing and the hypertonicity, that all tells me it's all central nervous system. The baby, likely where the electric scar is, goes from the cortical spinal tract into the brainstem. So it doesn't mean that this is going to be, you know, bad news for the baby. You just got to get the baby out. So like the big thing is, if they tell you they got to put a feeding tube in or a nasogastric tube, the kid can, you know, keep the weight up. That's good, because ultimately you take that baby home, get that baby on mama outside in the sun, and out of the NICU. The NICU is, almost hate to tell you this, it's actually worse than where Anne Marie lives. It's horrible for a child.
And you know what? Just by diving into your research and all of the stuff you put out there, that's kind of my gut feeling. I kind of had that feeling that that's what you're going to tell me. And honestly, doctor, I'm ready for the gut punches. Like I'm not.
No, I
scared
can't give
of
you the gut punches. I can't give you the gut punches now, because right now you're in a situation where we need to focus in on that baby.
Right. And the doctors tried to get us to comfort care and all this bullshit on giving up on her. And it's like,
are you serious?
That was, doctor. And it was like, that was Terry
Wait a minute.
Ender's.
If she's got just hypertonicity and a problem with her gut, for them to give up on her, there's got to be something else going on. What are they worried about?
They're worried that this is going to lead to pseudo-bulbar palsy, kind of like.
Well, I'm with them on that. That's kind of what they're describing when you have a brainstem problem. Just so you know, and I don't want to make you tremendously worried about this, but pseudobulbar palsy is one of the diseases that's related to ALS. I remember I just mentioned that to you. Why? Because that part of the brainstem is involved. So it's all the motor tracts, which is the reason why she's got the hypertonicity. That's what ALS is. But when you get it in a baby, because you're completely already demyelinated, remember your child isn't fully myelinated. Pseudobulbar palsy is actually what ALS is in a childhood form. So yes, the doctor is telling you the truth. They're not lying to you. The key is though, giving up this early, there's got to be something else that they're not telling you. Why they're concerned. Like, have they done EEGs on the kid? Have they seen, you know, like the kid's French fried, like they're in status? There's got to be something else going on for them to give up that quick.
Well, it was more of like they were trying to give us both extremes, and just the way she worded it. You know how some doctors' bedside manners, like your story about how you wanted to communicate that story to the parents because you can do that a lot better. It's like, some people just don't have a way of explaining things. So when the director came in and he kind of talked to us about this middle ground of them sending us home the way she is, which is exactly what I thought, you know, that's going to be our best option. Like you said, get her with mom, get her with her family, and then get her outside.
I will tell you though, with pseudobulbar palsy, you have to, if they haven't told you this, I'm going to tell you that there is a risk the child dies. That's a pretty serious problem. So what I would tell you, not that I'm against your choice here. I think that's a decision that you and your wife have to sit down and have a discussion. Like you have to say, look, we both understand that it's better to get our child out of there to see if she can survive, because it's quite possible that this baby may not survive. Okay. That is a real issue, but you and your wife mentally, remember what Anne Marie said in the beginning of this. This is PTSD for both of you right now. Okay. This is child abuse, but a different way for both of you. And I'm going to tell you, at least I would prepare you a little bit different than they do. I would explain to you that this is the most probable, this is the most likely, and this is what you're looking at. This child likely is not going to be normal, but if you want to give the baby the best chance, I think putting it in nature and letting nature decide, does the child live or die? And I'm telling you this now I'm being paternalistic with you, Noah, just so you know that.
Mhm.
That's what I would do if it was my baby. But my problem is I know too much. I know that who I was married to when we were having babies, that would have been devastating for her. And I know that she would have deferred to me because I'm the doctor. And I think the most important factor here that we're not talking about, I don't know you or your wife. I don't know how that's going to fly. And I'm going to be honest with you, if the baby does go home, does die, is that going to have implications for both you and your wife? Yes. And then, especially if you stay a member long enough and you decide to do like what we do in medicine, which is a postmortem, like, why did this happen?
Mm.
That may be the biggest gut punch ever, but you'll understand it. And the reason why I think you need to understand it is because you told me you have another kid. So that
Yeah.
other kid actually needs you and your wife to be totally on board.
Right.
Why? Because she likely has been born with high heteroplasmy as well. Got it?
Yeah.
And to me, that's the decision tree. And I would tell you, the things for me that would make this decision easier for me if I knew all the maternal history of your wife. The worse the maternal history is, the more I think I would take the kid out and see what happens. If the kid dies, the kid dies. Now, I know that's easy for me to say, it's not my kid, but I'm going to tell you this, Noah, probably not your wife, but you need to hear this.
Mhm.
That child really, truly has pseudoborbal palsy, which is childhood ALS. The best thing for that child is to die. That's the truth.
You're saying if she does have that.
If I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. And how long
You
would
know.
you say you would give that fight? Like how would you
Oh no,
make that?
no. When you take the baby home, I mean, just think about it. When somebody has ALS, I mean, we take them home, we put them in a wheelchair. I mean, with a baby, they're easy to handle because you can carry them around. It's
Mhm.
not like when somebody's 200 pounds. I would just say that you and your wife need to be ready. You're going to have full court press. Now
Yeah.
you'll get help at home, but what the hospital is kind of telling you right now, they don't want to see you kind of make that choice because they're actually trying to save you
Mm.
from that. But the way I look at it is this is already a shitty situation. The
Yeah.
child's best chance is out of that hospital.
Mhm.
But out of that hospital may mean the baby dies. So you got to be okay with that. That's really where the decision tree comes.
Do you think it would be beneficial to give her the trach in that instance to protect the airway?
I think she's going to have trach. That's
Because
a
that's
given.
what, yeah, that's what we've been avoiding for a little bit. But
But you look, if you're going to take her home, you got to have a trach. It's easier to manage the airway. Look,
yeah,
this is the decision. The decision that happens with ALS patients, once they get trach, do you know what I tell ALS patients that have the trach? I'm like, look, once you go to a trach, you're vent dependent pretty much the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Generally, that means you're going to be in this state forever, where your mind is completely wide awake and you can't fucking do anything below the level of your brainstem. I said, are you okay with that? That's the decision and the discussion that neurologist or a neurosurgeon has to have with the ALS patient, because you know who the decision tree is worse for? The wife and the family. Because as soon as the patient decides to have the trach, you have to turn around to them and say, you ready to go all in here? Because you're going to have to. So for you, this is a little bit different. That's probably an easier decision for you and your wife, but you and your wife, need to have that talk. But do I think that the trach, the peg, the feeding tube is part of the decision to bring the baby home? No fucking doubt about it.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that the trach can't come out later.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean the feeding tube can't come out later. That means, like, you know, say if you and your wife are lucky and the baby turns out to be okay, you saved her life.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, you're the one that have the most invested here. But here's the other part of the story. You need, this is the hard thing to say to you, but hopefully you understand why I'm saying it. You don't have that relationship that somebody has that has ALS for 40, 50, 60 years. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And if you know, Noah, when you take that baby home, that baby is struggling, then you got to look at this like a puppy dog that's got cancer.
Mhm.
You do. And you have to be, I'm telling you this man to man, you have to be that strong for your wife.
Yeah.
And if you're not, don't take the baby home. But I can tell you, I would take the baby home.
Right.
I would.
And
I know that nature's the better choice. And I know that all the doctors that are in Orange County don't believe that. But you have to realize the reason why this is a big deal. You could completely destroy your marriage if you do this wrong. This is like marriage heteroplasmy, fucking 1,000,000%, bro.
Mhm.
It is. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference with ALS. When people have ALS, the wives, the husbands, they have 20, 30, 40 years invested. They're not giving up on these people. And
would
it's a
you say
horrible
anything?
thing to say to a new dad, but
Yeah.
dude, this is decentralized medicine, bro.
100%.
You need to think about it like this. And I don't think I'd have this discussion probably with your wife alone. I'd make sure that you were there because you need to realize that this is both of you. And it's not an easy decision.
Yeah. Would you say anything to because the doctors are saying she's not
The
getting
doctors are useless here.
right.
This,
And
this
that's
is
the
so
hard.
not a doctor issue. The doctors, I'm going to tell you, the reason the doctors are backing out here, Noah, I'm going to be very honest with you. This makes them very uncomfortable. Why? Remember, these are people that are used to saving children, and they are looking at your daughter as a failure. They can't do for her. I don't want to say this is tearing them up as much as tearing you and your wife up. This is hard, even for the doctors. They're trying to save you from what they think is a bad decision.
But even if her muscle tone has gotten so much better, like over the last few weeks, and they didn't
That's a
recognize,
sign. That's a sign.
right?
Sign that you need to go more all in. Dude, pay attention. Pay attention to the signs, bro.
And that's what I'm doing, doctor. And that's why I really appreciate your work. Because honestly, if I would have walked into the situation without knowing that just people like you were out there and communities like this existed, this probably would have already ruined our marriage. But I've
Yep.
got, at the end of the day, like
Look,
you said,
no, I'm just going to tell you something. You are, there's a lot of ladies and men listening to this that haven't had children yet. You are who I warn them about. That when they go to the fertility specialist, or they live in California and they're already infertile and they want to fucking fight with nature, dude, this is what can happen.
yeah,
And these problems, they're much more common where you live. Just remember, that's the place where autism is 1 in 27.
yeah.
This is way fucking past autism. It's rough.
Do you know anything about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Because that's the one that we took.
They're
We didn't.
fucking terrible.
Yeah,
They all suffer from the same problem. They all
Yeah.
have liquid nanoparticles. So the lipid nanoparticles actually are mitochondrial toxins. What does it do? Breaks the inner mitochondrial membrane. If you go back and listen to Alexis's friend's podcast when I lit her up. Sherry Utah, bro. I talked about that. That IMN breaks. You just broke your heme protein. The lady, the 66-year-old lady, new member that's worried about, you know, dryness. That's the same fucking story. You know, that thing's broken. But that's happening in your child everywhere. Like fucking everywhere. And that's the reason why she needs to get out of the blue light environment and into the red light, because that's about the only hope she's got left. This is, you know, I don't know if you're a football fan, but this is like, it's the fourth quarter, there's 16 seconds left, and you're 55 yards away, and you need a fucking Hail Mary. And you better hope that you got Larry Fitzgerald and Aaron Rodgers on your fucking team. Otherwise, not going to work. And what I'm telling you, Noah, hard thing, got to have that talk with your wife.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Do you think methylene blue, supplementing it through the breast milk, would, like, if my wife started taking it, do you think that would
No,
have a
because
benefit?
no, it'd be devastating for the child. Methylene blue orally is not the same as IV. Now, if you could convince those fucking idiots to give it to your child IV, yeah, but I think if you did that, they'd call Child Protection Service on you.
Yeah.
Now your wife after the fact, maybe, because I guarantee you that I got to be honest with you, dude. The more I think about this, 28 years old, her maternal story my prediction is it would be a train wreck.
Like, as far as what her mom and her grandmother, what kind of diseases
her
in
eggs are her eggs probably came preloaded with nasty stuff, and then you moved it from Czech Republic to fucking California. Wow. I mean, dude, this story, this baby, this is you know what this is like looking? It's like looking at a shadow on the ground. I think I told Alexis this story about, and I know you probably haven't listened to it, but in the podcast, I told the story about my friend Jeremy Tomley when he asked me a question about, can I breathe through my skin? And I told him it would take me 6 months to figure it out. And when I gave the blog to him and his family, he called me up. He goes, how did you know to use all these analogies to describe this? Because my family actually has these problems. And I'm like, well, that kind of fucking tells you that I think I know a little bit something about transgenerational epigenetics, because that's the best way to explain it. And what I'm telling you, when you have a baby that has this problem, bro, both you and your wife's germline, it's got to be bad.
do you think moving back to Czech would be better for us? Like,
No,
no,
because it's too high latitude. Now, the one thing I love about Czech Republic, the mindset of, that's the only people in Europe that I like. Yes, they used to be communists. They know what centralization's all about. But the problem is it's fucking 51st latitude. When I was there last year on the solstice, it was like fucking 60 degrees and everybody's walking around with a down jacket.
Yeah.
That's the last thing your wife needs. Your wife and you need this.
Yeah.
For at least 2-3 years, especially if you're gonna have any more babies.
Yeah, that's kind of the leadway for the question was.
No, I know where you were going.
Yeah.
And after a bad outcome like this, you're going to want to get back in the saddle again to try to make right what from a wrong. But I got to be honest with you, dude. Knowing what I know, no, indeed. If I'm in your shoes, no. You need to listen to the story I just told about neurotic farmer. You and your wife need to go spend a year or two down there and reprogram both of your germ cells.
Yeah. I appreciate all that, doctor.
No problem. Sorry about this, Noah. And yeah, this should have been a consult, but I got to be honest with you. I got a funny feeling this may be beneficial for a lot of people to hear.
Well, I do have that tomorrow with you at 5 a.m. in case you think of anything else over the night or whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean,
well, I would tell you, you really need to read the ALS blog.
Yeah.
Because that blog is, that's kind of what pseudobulbar palsy is when you're unmyelinated. It's like ALS to the nth degree.
Yeah. I will do that tonight.
All right.
Thank you, Noah. Okay,
Hey,
next.
let me go get some ice.
Okay.
I'm out.
Brooke, you will be next to speak live, so you can go ahead and unmute your line and we'll start when Jack gets on. Thank you.
Can you hear me? This is I'm brand new and I want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
My first time ever on, so.
Welcome. We can hear you.
Kind of uh, a rough call, but funny thing is, the song that's playing, very apropos.
Hi, Dr. Jack.
Hello.
Hi,
Brooke.
I'm new, so I've been trying to learn as much as I can, through your blogs and YouTube, and that's really where I found you. I'm from the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, right up on the Canadian border, and been here most of my life. And I've suffered from autoimmune conditions and just some chronic issues. And I guess I'm just wondering, I also work in healthcare and I've, in a primary care clinic where I've been exposed to blue light and fluorescent lights and all of that. I work on a computer from 8 to 10 hours a day. It's really affected my vision. And, I don't have any major medical conditions right now. But I've had Guillain-Barré syndrome, Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue syndrome, and I'm just kind of wondering, living here, it's really hard to get any sun. It's cold. We had a horrible winter. It was
And
freezing.
that's the reason why you have the problems that you have. So since you're a new member and you're probably a nurse, because
Yes.
you're willing to sacrifice for your job, I got one of those too, fucking psychotic.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you that you have to decide what's more important, your job, your patients, or yourself, because that's ultimately the decision tree where you're at. And much like I told Tiffany, much like I told Anne Marie, you need to make a business plan and decide how much do you like Brooke versus everything else. And then you make the choice that you do, because the problems that you have, like Guillain-Barré, you heard what I just said to the gentleman Noah before. Guillain-Barré is a demyelinating spinal cord problem. Like, if you read, and I'm not assuming you did, but if you read the ALS blog with what you just told me, you should be scared shitless.
I am scared. I've had
Right.
very.
Well, guess what? It's a big deal because you got other autoimmune conditions. So that tells me your neural axis up and down. There's a lot of predictions I can make. I'm not going to make them for you, but this scene that you're painting, if you were my wife, you wouldn't be a nurse anymore. That I can tell you.
I'm trying to get my husband to understand, and he is open.
It doesn't matter if he understands or not.
Yeah.
Brooke, you don't understand where you're really at. This is the difference between you and Noah.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated Noah. Noah knows exactly where the fuck he is, and he doesn't like where he's at. You have no fucking clue where you're at, and you're talking to your idiot husband. Sorry, that's not
Yeah.
the way it works, Brooke.
Yeah.
You're the one with the fucking problem, not him. Got
I
it?
know, and I'm worried what's coming next. And
Well, I mean, I would, this is some advice I'd give you. Don't worry about what's coming next. How about you worry about what you already got and say, okay, I'm going to do something about this.
yes.
That's really what it comes down to. Did you hear what Noah just said to me? Noah was in the here and the now. Brooke, you need to be in the here and now too.
I've been
There's quantum entanglement right now on this call. There's a reason you're right after Noah. Did
Yeah.
you listen to anything Noah just said?
I did.
Because
Yes.
you got the message from his little girl.
I learned a lot from listening to all of that. And I know that I need to get off of the computer, away from the blue light. And I've just spent so much time constantly listening to YouTube videos and trying to learn more. And so I feel like now, after I log off from my 10-hour day on a blue lit computer, I'm on YouTube because I'm trying to learn.
But what you need to do is you need to realize that's when you need Anjan's computer that doesn't have any blue light.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
What is
That's the key. The key is you need to break your tech addiction, the blue light, the thing that's demyelinating you, that's ruining you, that's taking you apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. You have to realize this is the hardest thing to tell somebody in healthcare. I can tell you, look, if you want to know why I've been so salty for about the last year, I almost wish that Chantal was on this call. Every time I went back to go get more fucking pieces and parts to the COVID story, I was fucking miserable. I hated going back because I knew what it meant.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tell you, none of you know how hard that was for me. You don't. I just fucking hated it.
Wow.
And then the thing that
Come on, Jack.
the thing that astounded me when I did it is how much information I was getting every single day
Mm-hmm.
and realizing what was really happening.
Yeah. I have learned so much from you. It has blown my mind, actually, because I know you're right. It all makes sense. I've been in healthcare for 30 years. I've watched this all. I've been like, what is going on? And you put the pieces together for me. And now I'm just trying to figure out, I'm 53 years old. I've already had all these autoimmune conditions. I have, some lingering paralysis from the Guillain-Barré. Mostly I've had issues with my eyes and my face. And I just feel like I can't, my vision is so rapidly deteriorating. I've been to the eye doctor and they're just like, well, you need reading glasses because it's the close-up vision. They don't have any answers for me.
I can tell you what's happening. You're demyelinating upstairs. You're going to wind up with a neurodegenerative disorder. That's where this is headed.
Yeah.
That's where it's headed.
Yeah.
Your eyes are the windows into your brain.
Yeah. I know what's going on. I try to get outside. I can't get any sun. I try, it's like to get out and get grounding while the ground's frozen and there's the whipping wind and snow and trying to get outside for me. And I haven't seen any sun this week and we're in May. There's none.
No, trust me. Look, when I went up to do those 3 talks in Vermont, I distinctly remember going, there's no fucking chance that I would ever live here.
Yeah. I
felt the same way about Vermont that I felt about Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Like literally, I was there in both places at the summer solstice, and I'm going, ain't no fucking chance.
Yeah. And
look, I get the willies when I get on the plane just to go back to Florida or Louisiana. Can you imagine how I'd feel if I was going back to Vermont?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the answer for you is simple, but it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, you don't have the discussion with your family members. You have the discussion with you. You look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Decide, how much do I like Brooke? Then you write your business plan out. And then you go tell people what you're going to do. You don't ask their opinion. You tell them what you're going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, for somebody like me, is there anywhere in the United States that's a good place? I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
more and more.
I'll give you the answer I'd give you. I don't know that much about you, but knowing what you've already said, any place south that has a small population density, the answer is good. But remember, you got sick at a high latitude with a low population density. That tells you that you are very dependent on the sun to keep your neural axis. Like where your scar is obvious.
Mhm.
You don't get that message loud and clear, you're going to wind up with frontal temporal dysplasia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, a brain tumor, pituitary tumor, not as likely. Or probably the worst thing, you may be headed to a nasty case of neurolytica optica, which is a version of MS. Well, you get demyelination in your optic nerve and your upper brainstem, which is like the next train stop for GBS, which is Guillain-Barré. You can
Yeah.
look all those up because those are all part of the differential diagnosis of somebody who has Guillain-Barré.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very, very scary experience. And, I'm just learning more and more. I listened to what the neurologist told me to start with. And, I don't feel like I got any good information there as to why this happened. I'm understanding now why that happened. So, yeah, I guess those are my questions. I mean, do I need to get out of here? And I think I already sort of knew the answer.
Well, yeah, you have the same issue as Noah's baby.
Mhm.
The only problem is you got 53 years of bullshit that baby doesn't have.
Yeah.
That baby's just that baby's gonna be banking on Noah and mommy
Mhm.
making the right decision.
Yep.
Nobody's making the right decision for Brooke.
Right. Do you think I would benefit from a consult with you?
Probably,
Okay.
but you need to do the same thing I told Noah. I need to know everything about grandma, mommy,
Yeah.
and your history and all the details. If you
Mhm.
don't want to put it in the optimal journal, that's fine.
I
But
actually did. I did the genetic testing, and I have the haplotype and all of the genetic genie information. And
yeah, that would be good to go through everything. But you
okay.
kind of already know the outcome. The big thing is what that'll tell us is how steep the slope is. Do you have any kids?
Yes, I have 3 sons.
Any problems with the kids?
One of them has
Which
just
one? Oldest, middle, or
middle,
youngest?
the middle.
Okay. Tell
He's
me
a-
about the middle kid. How old?
he's 30, 31.
Okay. And what's his issue?
His biggest issue is Raynaud's. He has
Okay, that's nothing. That's okay.
Holden, Holden.
That's actually fixable. What about the young one?
He's actually very healthy. The middle one had severe jaundice. He's got red hair. I don't know if
There you go. That's the story that I told to Amory in the beginning. That's
yeah,
actually how you get higher heteroplasmy.
yeah,
Do they all still live in Vermont?
all of them. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you need to do a consult.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, that is the last of the live questions. So we're now going to questions to be asked. And first one is from Dick Rand. He's asking, can you please speak about how to measure our overall redox level, the various ways to know how strong our redox level is?
I already said this 17 times to Dick Rand, but he never listens to me. There's 2 blogs posted. Redox 1 and Redox 2. MRI is one. And then the 30 different ways to measure it are in Redox 1. Read it. Print it out.
Okay, next is from B. Hi, Dr. Cruz. Over the past couple powwow sessions, you have mentioned creatine supplementation in a jesting way. Then I see it on your Twitter feed where you're breaking someone's chops with creatine. Can you
Not
talk-
breaking their chops. I'm actually telling them what the real problem is. You use creatine. Like, who asked this question? This better not be a doctor.
B Brierly?
Oh, so it is a fucking doctor. This is really disappointing. So you go back and read the EMF4 blog post, B. Breeley. What the fuck does it say? That when you use the PPP, you use creatine so you can make more ATP. So when I'm making fun of Bitcoiners, because that's who they are, that are all using creatine, it's because all of them are +3 shifted on their neocortex. They're all fucking dumbasses. They're going to turn into Steve Jobs, Hal Finney, and Paul Allen because they don't realize that they're not using the TCA cycle. That's what it means. And because B is a doctor, shame on you. I'd be okay with if Tiffany asked me that, but dude, that's not good. Not good at all. And for those of you who want to learn about the PPP, remember that all that stuff that I touch in the blogs from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Krebs bicycle, where the urea cycle and TCA cycle meet. When that cycle goes the other way, that's when you start using the PPP. Supposed to go clockwise when you're a savage. That's when you're using beta oxidation, TCA cycle. But what's the link here? Because I know some of you are not doctors and scientists. You have a fucking brain that needs 20% of its cardiac output. That means you need the TCA cycle to be human. You need creatine when you're a cretin. Got it? Because you're not as good. That's when you're going to do a consult with me and say, I want to settle for a B, a C, or a D. That's what's happening. Because you're using the PPP and your TCA cycle spinning the other way. And you have to use different pathways to make all the carbon associates in there, and you don't make as much ATP when you do that. So what does creatine do? You don't make as much, but you make it faster. That's the whole story with the PPP. That's the same thing you do when you're Warburg shifted. You don't make as much ATP, but you make it faster. Why? Because that was good enough when you were a fucking bacteria. But I don't think I'm talking any bacteria on this call. Well, maybe some, I don't know.
Okay, next is from David. 3 questions. Number 1, what do you do between sunset and sunrise now that you don't use lights at night? Do you go to bed as soon as the sun sets and get up earlier when it's still dark?
Yeah, I'm pretty regular. Last night I broke my rules because of Alexis. Doing that podcast, and then I had to write that blog. So for everybody to get the nuance of what's going on, like, you need to realize you can't let anybody steal your time from you. In fact, I'm kind of glad Brooke and Noah were back to back, because Brooke just showed you what time theft is over a chronic duration with low intensity. Noah just showed you what it's like when it happens high intensity, short duration. You just learned a huge lesson there. And both of you, all of you that are listening to this proves to you that time is relative. Okay? Brooke's experience of time is way different than that baby. But guess what? The same process is going on in Brooke with her central nervous system breaking down at a slower rate. And that baby's central nervous system breaking down when it was inside its mama are exactly the same mechanism. And they're a function of how high the heteroplasmy rate is. Goes right back to Anne-Marie's first question. Don't you? I have to tell you, it always amazes me on Q&As how everything there's always a dominant theme, and it's not me bringing it, it's you guys. Like this lesson that you guys are getting today, my opinion, it took me fucking 10 years to get this lesson. You can listen to this Q&A and get it. Like, I couldn't even give you a better example than Guillain-Barré and pseudobulbar palsy, and then have the ALS blog sitting in your lap.
Alexis posted quantum entanglement.
No, but it's true. I mean, I almost hate to say it, but I did say it. I said it to Noah. I said, bro, you don't realize how important I think it was for you guys to hear what you just heard.
Great. Okay, number 2 from David. Isn't it much simpler to get a spectroscope and set up a plastic greenhouse than play around with quartz?
Oh yeah, it's way cheaper too. But guess what? When you live in El Salvador, you think that they're going to have, you know, the plastic that, you know, you can make that greenhouse with? No, you'd have to bring it from the United States. But you know, if you're in the United States, yeah, absolutely, because it'll be way cheaper. No question.
Number 3 from
No,
David.
this has to be David Lamb that asked the question, because that's the kind of question David Lamb would ask. I'm just going to tell you, David, you got to realize that these are my members. I can barely get them to stop going to Starbucks. Forget about them doing this shit. I mean, can you imagine Tiffany saying, yeah, I'm going to make my house a greenhouse, or the lady from California that said, hey, I found a good spot in my yard. I'm going to put a greenhouse there and a spectroscope. I mean, come on. She'll fire me right there.
Number 3 from David. If red light is the key to eating carbs, what is the difference with sunset?
What do you mean? The sun sets, there's no sunlight, there's no red light.
He says, typically I'd like to cool off after evening walk with some watermelon. Is that still better in the morning? Although I wouldn't be hot in the morning, so probably would.
It's always better in the morning, because remember, you want that IMM to be deuterium depleted with the CCO for the protection. So if you're going to eat your carbs, you always do it in the morning for that reason. But do it after you see the sunrise. Because remember what the sunrise says in the paper that I keep showing you. By the way, you're going to see it in the next couple of blogs. Sunrise, TCA cycle spinning the right way. No sunrise, spins the other way. Creatine. That's the answer. I got news for you. Brooke and Noah's baby, they're fucking spinning the wrong way. Both of them.
Next is from Dr. Rena. Were you aware of Robert Baloney's long history with DTRA?
Yes. Malone, she's talking about?
Hmm.
Robert Malone?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Malone has patents on the messenger RNA technology. If you don't think that we know who he is, but just remember, this will show you how stupid he was. He got high on his own bag. He took the jab and got fucking injured. And why did he take it? I think I said this in somebody's podcast recently. I don't know whose it was. I don't know if it's even come out yet. He got fucking vaccination injured. So guess what? This was the universe paying him back. And I think I know who it was. It was the Simply Bitcoin guy. So you guys haven't heard it yet. But when he got high in his own bag, the only time that I talked to Malone was for that COVID revealed movie. And if you go back and listen to that movie, what I said carefully, that's where I told the world for the first time. Remember, that's a week before I went to El Salvador. If you go and listen to it, I told everybody there's 2 legal definitions. I knew exactly what it was. I knew there was fucking SV40 in that goddamn thing, and I was going back to the hospitals to prove it. And that's exactly what I did. So if you don't think I know who the fuck he is, yeah, of course I do. The question is, do you? And why are you listening to him? Just realize that he's part of the issue. Just like McCullough. I'm not a big fan of McCullough either. He's telling people, oh, this is how you deal with the spike protein. The spike protein's not even the problem. It's the LMPs and the SV40. Now there's other problems that we know about. Like if you took the jab, like your life is getting fucking more miserable every day.
I think that answers his question, because he always asks, what is your opinion assessment of him? So I think we got that.
Yeah. I mean, I think a good guy gone off the rails. Now he's trying to be a good guy again because he realized just how bad everything is. And it's far worse than anything he predicted. And do I think that he did as good a job as, say, me and Kevin? No, I don't think so at all. We were really, really negative on it. And I think the reason he wasn't is because he's a patent holder. He's incentivized not to be. Come on, this is common sense, guys.
Next is from Christian. He has 3 questions. Number one, I see lots of deep vein thrombosis with refractory clots in vaccinated patients.
Yep.
Probably these amyloid fibrillar misfolded proteins.
Oh, it's a lot more than that. It's just not that. I promise you it's not.
Regarding the work of Coyote Sanctuary, showing that the absorption spectra of these clots is blue light, and also known that for optimal treatment is building redox with grounding and sunlight. But do you envision a method to treat these clots using 380 nm and NIR lights?
Think about what he just said there. I mean, I understand why he's saying it because he's a doctor, he's a radiologist. You want to use fake light to treat a GMO problem. No, you need fucking sunlight. This is the time. Remember the theme in this Q&A. You want to settle for a B, C, or D? Like if you're vaccinated and settle for a B, C, D, I'm just going to tell you this right now. You're a fucking idiot and you should not be a member of jackcruz.com. How's that? Is that clear enough?
Good answer. Number two, in blog number 44, you cited a paper listing some medications that increase oxidized HB and are responsible for low dose chronic HBemia.
Yeah, that's he's talking about the hemoglobin paper from China.
Yeah, drugs may be induced methemoglobinemia.
No, methemoglobinemia. That's the +3 shifted situation that that even Becker didn't realize. That's actually what happens before you go to fetal hemoglobin. That's all the guys that are +3 shifted are using creatinine. That's why it's happening. Creatine, I should say. So the reason that I put that paper in there, I wanted to show you what the gain of function study was really about, that Fauci, Daszak, and Barrick knew to attack hemoglobin. I told you in the last blog before the ALS blog what happened in the ICU, how they got around it, because they knew everything was an algorithm, that none of the doctors would use a co-oximeter. They'd never see it. So what was the situation? It's a situation that Noah just brought from the doctors. Hey, the kid's going to die. Well, that's what they told all the people that had the same problem. Their hemoglobin was destroyed. What they effectively did with the gain of function study is they gave everybody sickle cell anemia or thalassemia, and then they blocked the sun above them. Like, if you want to see the fastest way to get really sick, have those diseases and live in a place that's like a tunnel or geoengineered above you. That's a rapid prescription for putting you in an oxygen holocaust. That's what it means. So yes, his point is, let me be clear. It's the jab and the virus that caused this problem. It's not one or the other. It's both. And both of them are manufactured to cause this.
Okay, number three, Dr. Jack is a chief of radiology in an 800-bed hospital. I've seen a lot of similarity between the flu season of 2025 and the highly severe pathogenic responsive reflected COVID manifestations in vaccinated patients with flu. They were clinically normal in the first 5 days. Pulse oximetry was normal, lung exam unremarkable, and the only thing was radiological features of interstitial pneumonia,
Yep.
which on CT resembled the distribution and appearance of COVID-19 infection. Ground glass opacities and the periphery that configurate centrally and consolidate, whereas the patient's SATs O2 were decent. Many had early on heart complications like myocarditis and AFib.
Myocarditis.
And
Just so you know, Chrissy, we should have probably just told him to put this question. This question was way better for the form, so people can read it, because when you can't pronounce everything, people are going to be like, what the fuck is he trying to say in a Q&A? Yeah. The answer is yes. What he is trying to point out to all of you is now we are seeing GMO humans come back to the hospital and they have problems that we've never seen before. In other words, this is going to be a transgenerational problem that we see every year when these people come back. And if you are one of these people and say you get admitted to the hospital and you've got, the interstitial pneumonia with the changes on CT, you absolutely need to move to a different environment. Why? Because if you don't, you're going to be in the situation that Brooke is in, where something bad is going to happen to you down the road. And are the doctors that are in the hospital, because remember, he takes care of a teaching hospital. He's got to get that information to the doctors. And if he does say that, realize that they're probably going to come after him, because remember, the hospital is all about the paradigm that's in power. So that means that people are not going to get the truth. So if you want to understand this conundrum is exactly what Alexis tried to uncover with Kiera. If you don't tell people the truth, like you're giving them covert stuff, that leads to huge problems down the road. And that's what's happening in COVID right now. So as hard as it was for all of you to hear what I said to Noah, do you understand now why telling fucking people the truth allows them to make the best decision? It's kind of like, even if I try to make this like on a human level with you guys, like if you sit down and you tell me, Jack, I'm going to get divorced. This is the problem, da, 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 da. What if I didn't tell you like some key parts of the information that would be there? Do you think it would be good to allow a husband or wife who's in a hopeless situation to stay because of the sake of the kids or the grandmother or whatever the fucking reason is? It doesn't matter. Do you understand? It's the same thing that Noah just said to me, Jack, should I keep my baby in the ICU when they have pseudobulbar palsy, which is mini ALS? Now remember, that baby's got a program in it that it can myelinate. People that have ALS, that program's already broken. So it's not the same situation, but Noah is in the situation where the doctors that are taking care of his baby already think that she is ALS. So they want to pull the plug. And what do I have to tell Noah? The truth. And all of you heard the truth. And the truth wasn't fun, was it? It wasn't fun for any of you to hear. But guess what? Does Noah and his wife need to know that? Just like if I'm going to sit down and talk to you about you and your husband, or your husband and your wife, like you have to have those conversations with your patient, especially if, say, the relationship is tied to their heteroplasmy rate, with the situation at hand. Like we were joking before with the lady, from California about the progesterone. Well, yeah, for husbands, like, yeah, I don't want to have sex with you because your private parts are, like the Gobi Desert. Well, fuck him. Get rid of him. Like, and if no, the relationship is good, then what do? You go get the olive oil, the coconut oil, and go to town. Knock it out. And if your husband thinks that's gross, well, what's better? Going on Tinder and finding women that are 66 years old that shop at Costco, that are going to meet Dick Rand when he wants to go dancing, to read the Redox blogs? I mean, come on. The fuck? Put it together, people. Like, what am I trying to tell you? There's a big lesson here.
Yeah.
You cannot allow people to be covert with you. Even if the truth fucking sucks, you need to sit there and listen to it. Because guess what? That's the way you're going to make the best decision. That's why I told Noah what I said about his wife. You got to have this discussion with your wife. Because if you make this decision unilaterally, you ain't going to be married. I know that. And even though I think with the little bit I know, I think Noah's the best person to make that decision. Already I know that. Do I trust his wife? No, she's already a fucking train wreck. She gave birth to a baby that's an absolute train wreck. So I know she's a train wreck. You think that I'm trusting her brain? Hell fucking no. And then she just had a baby. Now, some of you may say, oh, Jack, that's so insensitive. Okay, maybe it is, but it's the fucking truth. So what are you paying me for? Are you paying me to burp you on your back? To say, hey, Tiffany, put the red lipstick on, go get your hair done. Or no, I don't want you to wear the red lipstick. I don't want you to put the shit in your hair. I don't care if your lady parts are like the fucking Gobi Desert. What I care about is that it's the right thing for you so that we're putting time in your bank account. That is why anybody who shields you from the fucking truth, that censors it, that's where you get inflation of time, where you get inflation of your money. And you need to understand that is why health and wealth are linked.
Well said. Okay. Next is Justin. He has several questions here. We'll go one by one. First, thank you for all your guidance throughout the pregnancy, including the tough words prior to even trying to ensure we fixed our clocks. My wife stopped flying. We welcomed our baby girl into the world naturally on April 9th. A few questions. At what point can she start getting midday sun? Right now, we are only doing morning and some late afternoon.
Now, anytime. You just got to make sure that the baby's got enough. Look, it doesn't change with the baby. Remember what I said to Allison in the beginning of this call when she tried to convince me that babies are hypnotized? No. Babies have more water. That means that they can have a lot of sun. Okay? So the more sun the baby gets in the red time, you can do more in midday. So yeah, the answer is I want that baby melanated. Absolutely, you need to get the melanin going. Why? Because that makes the nervous system go. Think about, what we just said with Noah. We need Noah's baby to get melanated, right? So Noah's baby absolutely needs that program ramped up. So why wouldn't a baby that's just born that doesn't have this problem, why are you going to fucking slow play it? You want your baby to have fucking MS? I mean, come on. What kind of nonsense is that? And I know he's asking an opinion. I know he just had a baby. I get it. Some of you would probably say, Jack, you're so harsh. You're such a douchebag. Well, that's good. I don't care. Because guess what? I want Justin's baby to be a fucking savage, just like I want Noah's baby to be a savage. But you have to realize the context is different. I hope Justin listens to this replay about what Noah's going through.
Yeah.
Then he's going to realize how little face validity that question really has. Now I understand it needs to be answered, and I think it's good because it's going to give people that time relativity answer. No, I want that baby to get myelinated because the faster that baby gets myelinated, the more it's protected from the modern world that Justin is going to put that baby in. Okay? And that's why Noah heart was breaking, talking to me because he knows his baby's got to stay in Chernobyl because if not, there's a chance the baby can die. And he doesn't have any trust in the doctors that are in Orange County that have all the fucking degrees on their wall. Got it? Nature doesn't make mistakes. We do. And that's why I'm trying to teach you all to think first principles. Because guess what? When you're a first principle thinker, I know this is what all of you hate about me. First principle thinkers, I don't concern myself with the emotions.
Number 2 from Justin. A few mornings after rougher nights, we have been opening the windows and door in the bedroom instead of waking her to bring her outside. Is this sufficient for TCA?
It's hard to say. I would say the thing I'm worried about with that baby, the same thing that Noah's going through. Mama was a stewardess in the fucking airplane in a metal tube. I want that baby clockwise all the time. I don't want Justin's baby to wind up like Noah's baby. That's the real answer. So I think doing more. Why? Just because on a relative basis that Justin's wife's in better shape, she's not going through this. She was in a metal tube for most of her adult life. So no. Do I think that you need to maximize the baby's chances? Yes. That's what I'm saying. Instead of selling for a B, C, or D, push the envelope.
Number 3, we are co-sleeping and using a candle and 630 nm red light for diaper changes and checking on her during the night. Does this approach make sense to you?
I don't know if I'd put the light on. I mean, if you just put the light on to navigate the room, great. But to be honest with you, my wife is an airline stewardess in a metal tube of 250 idiots and Wi-Fi. Fuck that. No light. Pitch black. You're going to be Helen Keller. Feel around the room. No, you don't need to see the baby. The baby will tell you if there's a fucking problem.
Number 4, fair to assume that the blogs on hair and sex hormones would also apply to avoiding postpartum hair loss?
Yeah, absolutely.
Last question from Justin. Are you still holding your MSTU position, and would you ever consider using MSTY for generating monthly income?
Well, I mean, look at what Jack Mahlers is doing right now with Lutnick and all his friends. I mean, they're getting in the same game. They're trying to maximize. Everybody's beginning to understand truly that angle. That's why Jack's doing this new company. So I'm going to tell you, Bitcoin at 75 was the answer. Bitcoin at 95, I think you can have a taste of everything. If you're like, say, Our Lady, the 66-year-old lady with the Gobi Desert, and she's got a little Bitcoin, yeah, she could gamble, but the problem is because she's 66, gambling for her is not as great a thing. Now, do I think Tiffany would be somebody that'd be the perfect person to sit down? But I need Tiffany to understand what the fuck she's doing, and she doesn't. You know, she's going to have the Boston property, the Florida property, the 401k. Like, she's only 47, so guess what? She can take way more fucking risk, probably more risk than she thinks. So that's like a question for her. But I think for most people, where we are right now with money failing, everybody should be fully loaded in Bitcoin.
Next question is from Mark. What are your thoughts on Jack Mahler's new company, 21?
So there you go. I just gave you the answer. I think that Bitcoiners that really understand truly what's going on here, they are looking to improve their stack. So do I understand why they're doing it? Yes, I do. But again, is that going to be like something that Christy would use? Or let's put it this way. Christy's got kids. She's going through issues now, but she's young. I think she can take more risk too, but she's probably more risk adverse. Tiffany should not be risk adverse at all. She should be fucking pedal to the metal. She should be like the girl in the mall riding a bike with no underwear flying around. Like, I'm pedal to the metal. But my 66-year-old lady or Anne Marie, they got to be more risk averse. But problem is, if you don't have any Bitcoin, I look at that as a risk. That's why I said this answer, it all depends about the n=1 for the person. And see, I don't know everybody's n=1. So if you're asking me the issue, do I like it? Yeah, I like it, but it's not for everybody. Do I think most people are better off just doing Bitcoin alone? Yeah, but do I think the MSTU, the MSTY trade has got a lot more fat on the bone? Oh, fuck yeah. Yes. But you have to remember, I love risk. I love chaos. You know,
Yes.
I'm not like all of you. You know, like, I'm that guy on the roller coaster. I don't hold on. I want to see the girl behind me boobs fall out and puke. Right. That's kind of what I like. I think that's how I like life. But not everybody's like that. You understand? And there's not every time in my life that I'm also like that. Or like if I was in Noah's shoes, no, I'm going to be closer to the vest. Why? His time bank account is right now tied to that baby until I tie it to his wife. It's not about a Bitcoin story. But does he still have another baby he's got to worry about? Oh, fuck yeah. So does he also need some risk? Yes, he does. Plus, he lives in fucking California. He's got to get his family out of there. That's the key. You know, like, do I think people who are in their 30s who have no kids Yeah, you fucking take all your clothes off and go pedal to the fucking metal. Why the fuck not? Because that could give you a life that you can't believe. Like, I'm worried about all these kids out there that are all nihilistic, that are like, they're mad at my generation. To be honest, I think that's part of what's going on with Kiara, if you want to know the truth. I think they're all pissed. You know, she got thrown out of nursing school and she didn't have a way to make money and she's being industrious. But, bro, when you start stealing other people's fucking time, that's where I got to draw a line, you know? And do I think she's doing a benefit for the idiots out there? Like, I'm glad the people that lost the money. I almost hate to say this to Alexis, but the friend, what's her name? Amanda? She better fucking, I'm telling you this right now. Amanda and Alexis better do a fucking Instagram live on this. Amanda got her money back. She's lucky. But do you know how many people are not going to get their money back? Do you know how many people are in the shitcoin casino that are going to lose? Fucking tons.
Next is from another Mark. How can we go long glioblastomas? Any brand of neurosurgery tools?
I'm going to tell you, GBM is what Noah's facing, except the adult form. That's like when you have to go all in. Like, if I got a GBM, I'm taking all my money out the bank. I'm going to live on the top of a fucking mountain where I can be naked every day, drink deuterium depleted water, and probably listen to this song I'm listening to right now, Tool, Numina, and just fucking play it 24/7 and listen to those drums to fucking make me better. Like, I'm talking about total savage. Like, and you can't give two fucks what anybody else says. You literally, it's actually worse than being on the Titanic. Because on the Titanic, you may have more time to make the correct decision. That's why I said it's very similar to Noah's situation.
And next is from Tanya. A friend about to go in for a spinal fusion surgery. I've suggested he get other opinions and found Jack's blogs on things to do pre-surgery. Is there any other insight you can provide to enable healing pre-post surgery, or if surgery is the only options and things they should question their surgeon?
But how am I going to know that when I don't know fucking the person? I mean, does that person? I mean, I know they're trying to help their friend. How the fuck am I? Am I a mind reader? Come on, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of history and information you need
Not
to
only
know.
that, it's not even you; it's a friend.
Mhm.
You know, look, I'll give you a perfect example. Alexis's friend thought fucking signing up with Kiara was a good idea. I mean, come on.
Mario, number one, what's your view on, well, you just said 21, so we won't ask that question. Next, what's your take on the recent outages? We already talked about that, so we'll go ahead and move to Nathan. Number one, should the future of regenerative medicine, such as med beds, be based on a broadband thermal emitter mimicking the sun's full spectrum output, or on a light emitter with the same overall power density, but concentrated at the peak absorbance wavelengths of all biologically essential elements, targeted bites of the apple to best optimize human health?
Basically, this is a question. Hey, can we do better than nature? The answer is no. So can you try it? Sure. Is it okay for, say, someone like Brooke or maybe someone like Noah's baby? Would that be a better improvement than where they're at now? Yeah, it would. But what did I tell you? I'm not interested. I'm not interested in I'm just not interested in BCs or Ds. So do I think it has its place for people that are in their situations? Yeah. But how likely do you think it's going to be that somebody who's in that situation can afford to do that? I mean, most of you can't even afford to go for 2 or 3 weeks or a month or 2 months to El Salvador. And then you're going to ask somebody to buy a piece of technology like that. Like, I don't want to see people do that. I want people, if you're going to do the right thing. Like, don't settle for a BC or D. Like, do the right thing for you. Do the right thing for your time bank account. You know, it's kind of like the same answer I just gave you about Maulers. What did I say? Bitcoin's yay. Maulers is the B. Everything else is CD. What do you want to do? Like Boston Airbnb. That's a fucking D. Florida. It's a C. Your 401k, probably right now, used to be a B. Now it's a C. Maybe even a D. Like if you own the wrong stuff. So the question you got to ask yourself, which is the question Noah just asked, how likely is it that my kid's going to survive this? I think Noah knows. It's not likely. But guess what? What's the best chance? Not in fucking Chernobyl. What did Brooke say? Not in Chernobyl. What am I telling you? What am I saying to Tiffany? All that fiat stuff you got sitting around, that ain't the best place for it to be either. That's fucking Chernobyl too. And guess what? The boyfriend thing, that's actually nature whispering in the ear. Hey, guess what? You need to think about this. That's the story. You gotta understand when nature whispers to you, are you listening? And that's why I kind of appreciate that we had Noah and Brooke back to back. Because I personally think that all of you owe them a debt of gratitude. I couldn't teach you a better lesson than they taught you today. And I hope that you see in the biologic story they have that there's a Bitcoin story. Why? Because you saw it. You saw it with Tiffany said. You saw it with our 66-year-old lady. You saw it even in Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie's like, I now know that I live in Chernobyl and I need to do something about this. And I got to figure this out. Like she didn't fucking lose her mind this time, which was good. Because you know what that tells me? She's doing what Noah's doing right now. Noah's listening to this going, I got to get my fucking shit together before I talk to my wife. That's the key. First principles thinking. I'm going to tell you that's the reason why all of you are here. Before I'm done with you, you're going to be spectacular thinkers because I'm going to force your fucking TCA cycle to spin the right way. You're never going to ask me a question about creatinine because none of you are going to need it.
Next, again from Nathan, number 2. Could life's continuity be sustained by a resonance chain where the emission spectrum of one atom or molecule becomes the absorption spectrum of another, driving a cascading sequence of light, sound, charge, and chemical reactions, so long as full spectrum sunlight by day, darkness by night, and a coherent network of biomolecules are present to maintain the flow?
You know what Nathan just described for everybody who's watched this? Take a look. The Sistine Chapel. Like the connection. He just described to you the connection. What's on the white plaster? That's actually how the breath of the gods is in you. You want to know what I told Nick Jahomes? Why we started where we started? Remember, he wanted to talk about leptin. He wanted to talk about the radiation of mammals. What did I say to him? Let's start at the GOE. What does the GOE stand for? Great Oxygenation Event. What am I listening to right now? Tool, Numina. You know what Numina means in Greek? The breath and spirit of man. Like when I tell you that everything about this Q&A is fucking quantum entanglements. No fucking doubt about it.
Nope.
So yes. Is it possible? Yes, that's actually why we're on this planet. And how we persist on this planet is how good you're following that program between those two fingers.
Okay, next is from Jack. Please remind everybody, can SV40 be tested for in the body in a practical and accessible way, or is it
No.
very
It's
expensive?
not practical. It's not easy. It costs a lot of money. And
Next.
the person that you should talk to, send Kevin McKiernan a DM. He'd probably give you the cheapest, the best way to do it.
Next is from Peter. What is the quantum biological explanation for PTSD and complex trauma? I understand how light, EMFs, and other forms of ongoing stress cause damage, but PTSD and complex trauma from incidents long in the past are somehow able to keep the body in chronic stress mode. What is the mechanism underlying this? Does May1-Ho's work on the liquid crystalline nature of water play any part of it?
Yeah, of course it does, but I gave you the answer with Anne-Marie's question. Go listen to what I said to Anne-Marie in the beginning of this. Exactly the same. Raises your heteroplasmy ratio up. And what does that do? Your sympathetic nervous system overrides your parasympathetic one. You're always in fight or flight. So your electrical scar is everywhere in your frontal lobes. You're a fucking train wreck. You know, remember our 66-year-old lady when she was talking about, and at the end, oh, by the way, I have anxiety. What is PTSD? It's anxiety to a millionth degree. Why? Because the duration and intensity are so fucking high. Your mitochondria are leaking light like, I don't know, like the central bank is creating debt.
Okay, I have an acquaintance who runs a chronic pain clinic. Neuroplasticity is their theoretical focus, and they primarily use pain reprocessing therapy. Recently, they've been taking more and more patients who have been diagnosed with long COVID. They're getting good enough results that more people are coming to them. In light of your recent blogs on the jabs and the damage caused by LNMPs, it's hard for me to see how pain reprocessing therapy could have any effect on the underlying damage, and yet people appear to be recovering. Could the pain reprocessing therapy be altering bio?
Hard stop. This is what was her name?
This is Peter.
No, the podcast that I did with the chick about babies when she asked me the question about getting epidural versus having the pain. The bigger the pain is, gets you to regeneration. Didn't I say that in the last Q&A? So this is a person asking me the question that I answered in the last Q&A, not seeing or listening to what I said. So you don't see how it can happen, but I said it in that podcast and I said it in the last Q&A. The bigger the pain, the better they do. It turns out the bigger the physical injury, the less PTSD somebody gets. The less the physical injury, the more the emotional injury, the worse the PTSD is, the worse the pain is. There's a lesson there.
Okay. Next is from Sheen. Questions for Dr. Cruz. Once I learned that music frequencies were intentionally changed from 432 hertz to 440 hertz to further the mind control agenda, I lost my enthusiasm for modern music. You mentioned using music regularly to regulate your mood and that you benefit greatly from using it. Is the frequency change a motive true? And if so, what are your recommendations for enjoying music without being part of their control group?
I'm doing it right now.
Uh,
Listening to Danny Carey play the fucking drums. Yes, switching all your music to 440, which is what I've done a long time ago. Rick Rubin is the one that taught me that a long time ago. So the answer is yes. And the music that will move you, like I have to tell you, last Q&A, I was on an Alice in Chains tear. Right now, I'm fucking all into Tool. I'm just, I don't know why, but I think it's the drums.
have you seen them live?
Yeah, many
They're
times.
amazing.
But I mean, yeah, they're pretty good. But I mean, there's certain songs.
Yep.
Like my favorite Tool songs, I am not listening to right now. Like I've got Numina on constantly since I talked to Nick, and I'm getting ready to talk to this microbiome chick. And I promise you, don't fucking miss that podcast. Like, I am ready.
He's prepping. Okay, let me get to the next one. If Joe Dispense could actually describe why his work works, what description should he give you that would impress you?
I think I answered that with Allison's question, didn't I? I explained why, for me, Joe Dispenza doesn't resonate. He is Kiera without the physics. He just makes you feel good. And remember, that's what scammers have to do. I told a story most of you probably, I don't think there's too many of the old members on here. Maybe Tom and Nancy are listening. They may remember this. I told the story, and some of you may have heard partially the story when I talked about the little 16-year-old girl. The doctor that was in there was the worst neurosurgeon that I ever worked with. And the best one was a guy at Osher named Rand Voorhees. And he's the one that told me, he goes, don't ever run away from Dr. Carey. He goes, because turns out you can, he goes, the best neurosurgeon that come through here will learn from both of us. He goes, you just need to make sure you parse out what happens when you're with him. And I never forgot that. And I'm just going to tell you that I think the same thing is true with anything in life. Like, it's why I give you guys the advice to embrace the suck. And I know embracing the suck sometimes is really hard. Like, you all saw what Noah's going through. Nobody would want to go through that. But did Loudy go through that with Vince? Yeah. Are some of you going through some big stuff? Yeah. And, each one of us think our stuff is big because it's relative to us. You may not think about it in this situation, but I know what's going through Brooke's head is not good right now. And I know our friend Amory, who started this whole shitstorm, she's way better now than she was, 2 or 3 months ago. And she's beginning to see, because she did embrace the suck. Like, I embraced the suck of Dr. Carey and neurosurgery because I didn't understand it at the time, but I listened to Dr. Voorhees because I knew that he had wisdom that I didn't have. And it paid off. So I can tell you that it's a personal story, but I don't mind sharing it because he'll listen to this. One of the members I did a farm membership with, I got a lot of shit about taking him on as a farm member. And everybody was like, bro, he's like saying all these nasty things and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, I know that I can help him. And you don't. And everybody kept telling me. And guess what? Where'd it go down? Went down in a dark room during a fucking hurricane.
Okay, next from Sheen.
I'm not finished yet. I just got a little bit emotional there. That person is now far better than they were. And that person is now going through something that they would never be equipped for if I listened to everybody around me. Just like that little girl would not be alive if I listened to Dr. Carey. So when I tell you that patients teach me, they do. And you have to pay attention to your gut. Does it make me happy to have to do and say the things that I had to do yesterday with Alexis and Kiara? No. But is it necessary? Even when you don't think it is necessary. And when you know you're doing the right thing, then you go all in. Just like I told you on the Danny Jones podcast with that little girl. You don't fucking worry about it. Like, I'm going to tell you, the last time I really did this, when I went back into the hospital looking for the fucking answer for COVID, I knew exactly what I was fucking getting into, but nobody around me did. They didn't know. And I didn't share it. I didn't tell anybody. But I knew I had to embrace that suck. I knew what it meant. And then coming out of it and having to talk about it with Rick Rubin and Huberman and knowing what fucking door that could open. Nobody knew how dangerous that was, but I did. Now everybody sees it. How many questions we get asked about LNPs today and SV40 and this, that, and the other thing. And what Ryan asked about food. Oh, you never thought that all the shit they were putting through fucking needles now are going to wind up in your Costco meat. Well, sucks to be in the United States. But guess what? And the sooner that all of you get the message, so when you walk out and you see the planes spraying in New Jersey and Florida and California, don't come and tell me that I didn't tell you that that's what's blocking your UV, so that you can't use your trauma, your big pain, to get you to regeneration. You're going to have to do other things. You may have to use this pain clinic. You may actually have to come to a member event and all punch each other in the mouth. Literally. That's what you need to realize. That's kind of what's going on here. And like, I can't understand it for you. All I can do is explain it. And then it becomes incumbent upon you to decide, okay, how am I gonna attack this? And yeah, somebody just posted in the chat. I think that's true. As soon as I read this quote, it says reading the blogs is embracing the suck. It's true. You know who I thought of right off the bat as soon as that happened? Frida, Chantel. In fact, Loudy's probably listening to this. Loudy will tell you, so will Tom and Nancy. We were at a coffee shop, I don't know, about a month and a half ago, and I went fucking nuclear on all of them. And it's before all this decentralized thesis started coming out. And I was fucking madder than hell. You know why? I went back in and fucking gave my time up to give this shit to you guys. So the least you can fucking do is read the blogs. The least. That's how I feel. I think it's ultimate disrespect. You want to know the truth? That's how I feel. And the people that read it, the people that I know have read it, I'm going to help them out the most. That's the truth, because they care. Even if you ask me a dumb question, if I know you read the blog, I'm all in for you. You're that little 16-year-old girl. But when you ask me a question about redox for the third fucking time, and the blog's been sitting there for 10 fucking years, like happened today, no, fuck you. Sorry.
Agree wholeheartedly. Okay, next from Sheen. Since insulin spikes happen rapidly when being in the presence of NMEMF and blue light, how fast is the recovery time after the spikes once we get back out into the sun and are grounded?
That's a good question, but you know what it really depends on? Your heteroplasmy rate. So let me give you an example. Wound healing happens really fast, like in children that have low heteroplasmy rate. They do well. So think about now a 60-year-old diabetic. There's a guy on the forum right now. His name is Briscoe, asking me questions. And I'm sure you guys will come over the thread. It's about, wearing shoes outside. He goes, well, I feel like I need to wear shoes to protect my feet so I don't get, my foot cut off. And the funny thing was, he was surprised at the answer I gave him. You know why? I said, well, if I was a type 2 diabetic and I had it, I'd have my fucking shoes off. And if they cut my legs off, fine. But because I'm not interested in fucking managing the disease, I'm interested in reversing it. What did I just say to you guys this whole Q&A? You decide if you're going to have an A, a B, a C, or a D. What did Stuart Briscoe tell me? He's interested in C and Ds. I'm not. I'm not. And what am I reflecting to you guys? The same fucking thing. Now, remember, when you tell me and you do a consult with me, and I realize that you're really not interested in A, B, C, or D, you'll see my tone change. You know what Noah told me today? You want to learn something about Uncle Jack? That's an A. He wants a fucking A. Got it? But when somebody else tells me, well, I don't think I can do that. So guess what? When you can't do it, your TCA cycle spinning the wrong way, are you going to get the A from Jack? Nope. You're going to get creatine. How you like that?
How you like them apples? Next from Sheen. What did you discover when visiting the Suriname shaman that could assist regeneration of the jab and diseases?
I discovered that there's a lot of answers in that jungle, and that politics is truly a cancer. It's a cancer in our country. It's a cancer there. It's even a cancer in El Salvador. But it's a cancer that, based on this Q&A that we're doing, you got to embrace the suck. And I think that your choices about where you are, you should always be in a place where you have to embrace less suck from a politician than at all possible. So that should give you some insight to why I feel the way I do about California, New York, and Illinois versus maybe Florida. But how do I feel about the whole United States? The same way I felt about Australia 6 years ago and the way I felt about Canada 6 years ago. I think you're headed to the same place. And I don't think any of you see it. And I'm just hoping that when you find out that I'm right, that you got enough Bitcoin in your pocket where you can say, well, that fucking arc is burnt. Time to go find an oasis. And that you're able to make that decision. Because guess what? You're going to be like Noah then. You may be able to save your family and the fucking idiots around you that don't get it.
What is your point of view on building a clinic in Argentina versus El Salvador? Do you have any plans on building a clinic?
No. Neither place. Not politically doable as far as I'm concerned.
What big question would you like to be asked during an interview, and what would your response be?
Depends on the context. Like, I mean, the argument like that I got into with the biophysicist that I mentioned to Alexis yesterday in her podcast. What's like the big need that we all need for just about everything we talked about today? Like Noah, Vince, Tiffany, Anne-Marie. I need a fucking photomultiplier to put inside your body, inside your cells to see what the fuck you're leaking. And I need the spectra. I need the intensity. I need to know if it's monochromatic. I need to know if it's partial. One of the things that I'll give it to you. I just thought about the answer. The question to ask is light from the sun and light from your mitochondria the same? It turns out light from the sun always has to be full spectrum. UPEs are never full spectrum. How do you like that? They're always targeted. And you know what the target is? It's the absorption and emission spectra of the chemicals there. Whose question actually in this Q&A got closest to that? Nathan's, when he asked about the atoms between, and what did I say? That is what Michelangelo painted on the ceiling. We have to optimize that. That's the key. And I don't think that people realize that light from your mitochondria is radically different than light from the sun. But you need light from the sun. Like the way the system is built, you got to get light from the sun. But the real action, like what's going on with Noah's baby, what went on with Vince, it's a story of the light that the mitochondria release. It's a story of the light that the microbiome releases. So do I want to have a discussion with Alexis and Dr. Hazen about the bifidobacter going bye-bye? No, I want to know what fucking light the bifidobacter makes. Because guess what? That'll clue me in to the quantum biology that's happening in the gut, that's happening in the mesenteric system, that's happening in the portal vein, that happens in the liver. That this is the light that we need to reverse non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the fucking stupid question. I'm looking for somebody who's going proximal to what you think is the answer. And what have I told all of you? I've said it multiple times today. The answer isn't in biochemistry. The answer is always in light water magnetism, but you have to be able to see past what the world has put in front of you. The world is put in front of Noah. This is the answer for your baby. You know what Noah's really got to do? He's got to listen to what Uncle Jack said. He's got to have a talk with his wife. What's behind the wall? You want to know why some of you haven't bought enough Bitcoin yet? Want to know why Tiffany's sitting in Boston and sitting in Florida? She doesn't know what's behind Boston. She doesn't know what's behind Florida. That's the reason why. People ask me, what, 3 questions, right, Christy? About MSTU, MSTY, and Bitcoin. Why are they asking that? What's behind it? What are they looking at?
Yep.
Those are the smart fuckers. Those are the first principle thinkers. If you want to know what I'm trying to do to all of you, those are the savages. TCA cycle, all going one way. We're all rowing in the same direction to get to the same place. It's no different than a rowboat. When the left side starts fucking going the other way, then the right side, guess what we do? We go in circles. You want to know the truth? Most of you, that's how you came to this site. You're in circles. And you just didn't understand that the beat of the drum, the beat of that light, the light that comes into you is different than the light you make. And you need to understand the difference. And understanding that difference is actually where Nirvana lives for you. It's actually what gets Noah's baby remyelinated fast. It's what keeps Justin's baby from becoming Noah's baby. It's actually what lights Tiffany's pilot light so that she draws the right bug to her, not the wrong one. It's the reason why Brooke is going to wake up and say, yeah, if my husband wants to keep me in Chernobyl, what the fuck? This makes no sense. I'm a nurse. What are you trying to do? I'm a great swimmer. You're a terrible swimmer. And you're going to make me drown if I keep staying here. That's effectively what happens. But guess what? You all have free will. I know that. But remember, you're not paying me for free will. That's yours. You're paying me first principle thinking. That's the key.
Okay, next is from Elaine. 3-part question. 1, in the case that is deemed necessary to induce labor at 42 weeks, are there any methods that are potentially superior to an oxytocin drip?
My answer would be probably, but realistically, you're not getting anything off the centralized beaten path. They're going to do what works best in their hands. But probably if I looked into it, yeah, I could probably find way better choices.
Number 2, are epidurals something to be avoided in the case of induction?
In my opinion, I think I answered that in the podcast with I'm blanking on her name. I think her name was weird, like Yuli or something. I think epidurals are horrible. They're bad for mom and they're bad for the baby. Like, I can't find any redeeming quality of them outside of, okay, you don't have any pain. But if you knew the harm that you were doing, I don't think any woman would ever do it.
Number 3, how does one tell if a woman is getting enough sun for the leptin-POMC pathway to be optimized for managing pregnancy and childbirth?
She got pregnant. B, the pregnancy has no collateral damage, meaning there's no issues with it. The baby's not born with jaundice. Baby doesn't have any problems. Remember, leptin, melanocortin pathway controls fecundity and fertility. So that's a big clue right there. But just because you can get pregnant doesn't mean having the baby is a ball of wax. I mean, listen to Noah's story on this Q&A when you listen back. I mean, he'd probably be the first one to tell you, yeah, if I had known that this was a potential problem, boy, that would have been really nice to know before we fucking stepped into this shit show. Because right now, Noah doesn't have any good choices. Just like Vince didn't have any good choices.
Next. Next is from Debbie. 4 questions. Number 1, as a nurse who developed Bell's palsy without any vaccines or clear triggers, I'm curious about the mitochondrial connection. Could this condition be driven by localized mitochondrial dysfunction? And if so, is it possible to regenerate or repair the affected nerves through targeted sunlight exposure or other quantum biological strategies?
This is pretty simple. This goes to Noah's problem and Justin's problem. Bell's palsy acutely is caused by acute demyelination of cranial nerve 7. And it's usually stimulated by a stressor that stimulates a herpes virus that's in one of your ganglion. So when you get acute demyelination, what do? You usually get put on several medicines to stop it. And then what do? You get back in the sun and you remyelinate. It's exactly what I just told Noah. It's exactly what I just told Justin about their baby. It's exactly what you should do for Bell's palsy. In fact, the last time I had Bell's palsy, which wasn't that long ago, it was induced by probably travel, plane flight, and dealing with Maya, Paraboo.
Number 2, do you see fibromyalgia as a symptom of deeper mitochondrial or circadian dysfunction rather than a true standalone diagnosis?
Yep. And you're going to find out about that very shortly on a blog in the next couple of months.
Beyond sunlight and circadian alignment, are there specific labs or tests you believe you can reveal?
No, there's no labs or tests. This is an absolute destruction of the heme proteins in your body. People who have fibromyalgia have broken every fucking rule when it comes to sunlight, especially for heme protein renovation. And boy, are you going to learn a lot about that.
Number 3, herpes seems to reactivate under stress or illness, but do you believe mitochondrial health and redox balance play a more central role in modulating viral expression?
I just told you the answer when I answered the question about Bell's palsy. What do viruses do? What do vaccines do? They cause mitochondrial heteroplasmy to rise. What's one of the first things that happens in a nerve? Demyelinates. I told you that in the ALS blog. What happens when it demyelinates? The action potential drops. That means the distal function of the muscle doesn't work. That's why your face goes out. What else happens? That in the nodes of Ranvier of that nerve, fucking light is leaking out like crazy. Whatever around it gets destroyed. You happen to be lucky when it's your face, because where the nerve gets destroyed, there's nothing really major around that. But what happens when you have Guillain-Barré? Well, you should pull Brooke back up. She'll tell you, not only does this go bad, then that goes bad, and this goes bad. Want to know what happens in ALS? Ask Loudy. It starts with a little problem and turns into a fucking shitstorm. Want to really know? Listen to what Noah told us about his baby. The difference is Noah's baby's on the upswing. Vince was on the downswing. People that are Guillain-Barré, they're kind of like this, depending on the environment. And I think the simple one to understand is people that have like peripheral neuropathy or Bell's palsy, things like that, acute rapid demyelination or MS. It's totally tied to the stress, which goes back to Anne Marie's question. First question on the thing. Listen to what I said. Everything is relative. So like a Bell's palsy coming on acutely tells you that you got an acute stress. That's what it means to a decentralized doctor. That's what it should mean to a decentralized patient, but it doesn't always do that.
Number 4, you've taught that many infections, including parasites, are a signal of poor redox and environmental mismatch. In your view, can restoring circadian rhythm and improving mitochondrial function make targeted anti-parasitic treatments unnecessary in most cases?
I would say in the normal world, yes, but not in the world that we've built. Now I think we're in a totally different area. Why? Because the world that we built has totally taken control of how our immune system can and cannot work. So the person who best showed that in this Q&A, that's Kathy with her problem. Why? She's done the right thing. She's moved from Nashville to Mexico and she's still having a problem. Why? Because it turns out Nashville to Mexico is good on a latitude basis, but not great on population density and certainly not great on technology. Why? Because the same shit is back there. So that's a problem. So you need to get that nuance.
From David, what is the single most critical unanswered question in biology that could unlock a paradigm shift in human health? And what specific experimental approach would you propose to resolve it?
I think I answered that question. The light that comes in has got to be full spectrum. The light that turns on and off our genome is highly unique, meaning the spectra is unique. Everything is run by the thing I'm thinking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when all those lights came out, there's a message in all those lights. That's what happens in a mitochondria. And the things that it's targeting are adjacent to it at such small levels, you have no idea how powerful that light is. And I need a photomultiplier to figure out. That's truly, in my opinion, the most important piece of plaster between those two fingers.
From Wendy, number 1, in your recent Turbo Cancer podcast, you said that if you eat carbohydrates, you're going to make the Warburg metabolism worse.
Yep.
I've been eating seasonally and locally, and vegetables and fruits will be in season soon. Is including those carbohydrates acceptable when they are in season locally, or do you recommend not doing so even then, given what you said about the impact on Warburg?
I don't think this person really understands what I said. If you took a vaccine, are you tied to anything that's normal? The answer is no. The LNPs break your IMM. So immediately you're not normal. You're a fucking GMO individual. So just because you want to apply the rules to quantum biology that go to everybody else, that's for the people in the control group, not the experimental group. The experimental group, you got a different problem. You don't have the leeway that Uncle Jack has. Sorry, you gave that up when you complied. Warburg metabolism puts you closer to death. They're taking shit out of your bank account. That's like Kiara going cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. That's like the central bank going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. That's it. That's how you need to think about it.
Number 2 from Wendy, after listening to you and others regarding Bitcoin, I have begun to understand the importance of investing in Bitcoin as part of my move towards overall decentralization. Given that I am the only person in my family who would consider this, I will be on my own. I tried to download the Strike app, but ended up with crypto.com. This may be fine, but I need to be in contact with somebody who can give me a little more direction. I'm 67 and can feel overwhelmed by this piece. On the whole, I believe I am on the path to becoming a savage, but still reside in a very centralized family and will be on a pathway without support from any of them. So I guess she's asking, what would you suggest for her?
Unchained Capital. And no, I wouldn't use crypto.com for anything.
Okay, next is from
And then she should get on the forum, and she should probably make a trip to El Salvador. You got Bitcoin Beacher. You got fucking crazy Bitcoiners all around here that'll love to help her out. They love newbies.
Stephen, while working on improving one's redox potential, is it common to see a temporary worsening of existing symptoms, or is this more an indication that there is a flaw in the health measures being taken?
No, there is. And the reason why is because the mitochondria has to make UPEs. Do you just think about like this? When you start an engine up that hasn't been started, you know how you hear it start to kick? There's light frequencies coming out there that aren't quantum coherent. That goes to Allison's question that she mentioned before about why does Joe Dispenza not have it all down? Well, you need to be quantum coherent when everything is working properly. So that means that the light show that's coming out of the UPE is, proper for that circuit. And you're going to find out when I say this, there's different circuits. Like there's the neural circuit, then there's the vascular circuit, then there's the extracellular matrix circuit, then there's the mitochondrial circuit, then there's the neural crest circuit. Like you're going to learn a lot about these diseases coming up. I mean, just think about what I just taught you in the ALS blog, that you leak light predominantly at the nodes of Ranvier. What don't you know yet? But you're probably going to know by tomorrow or the next day because it's in the next blog. Do you know that the nodes of Ranvier are not the same in a peripheral nerve? They're not the same in your brain, and they're not the same everywhere in the nervous system. You know what that means? If you're leaking light in different places, do you think that may lead to different problems based on what I just told you? Do you know that the nerves in your brain, the myelin sheet, is different than the myelin sheet that's in your peripheral nerves? Did you know that? It's made from oligodendrocytes in your brain. Do you know that oligodendrocytes, very, very interesting, they do multiple nerves together. So that means there's a direct connection to multiple nerves. You think that's different than peripheral nervous system that uses Schwann cells? Well, it is. And you want to know what another difference is biophysically? That oligodendrocytes that do all the stuff in your brain are more compact. What else? They have a higher dielectric constant. Think any of this stuff matters? Oh, Uncle Jack is just warming up. I promise you. I promise you. Just when you thought, no, there's more. There's more. I'm going to teach you why MS is different than Charcot-Marie Tooth. I'm going to teach you why bipolar disorder is different than a GBM. I'm going to tell you that a GBM is a break in the nervous system relays, the vascular system relays, and the extracellular matrix. But guess what? Bipolar disorder is not, and neither is MS. Certain things are broken and not others. When you have a GBM, everything's broken. That's kind of the situation that Noah's in right now. But Noah's baby's shown us something. It's improving. Neurologic system's improving. What does that mean? Even though the hospital's doing everything they can to fucking kill that kid, that myelin is starting to come out. So now we need to know, does he have enough myelin to remyelinate that brain? We don't know. Noah doesn't know. His wife doesn't know. You know what they got to do though? They got to gamble on their kid's life. How'd you like to put your head on the pillow tonight knowing that? Not good, huh? But guess what? Welcome to my world. That's the world that I deal with. When you tell people the truth. Can't make the decision for them. All I can do, tell them what it means. And you heard what Noah said. Nobody in the hospital is telling me this. I know that Noah's telling the truth because I know how it works in the hospital. Brooke's a nurse. You heard her. Just because you're a nurse and you're proximal to healthcare doesn't mean you fucking get the whole program. I can tell you that's true with Chantel. She thought the hospital was the greatest thing in the world for a lot of time. She thought it was great working all fucking hours of the night. How'd that work out? Not so good. But guess what? I used to believe what Chantal believed too. And I knew what it was. I knew exactly what my fucking kryptonite was. And what's the sad part for me? I'm really good at centralized medicine. Really good. But I got to get out of it. So guess what? That's my fuck you moment. You heard Noah's fuck you moment? And I had to go back in to Krypton for the last 5 years. So I know what that means. You got to figure out your Krypton. And then decide, do I want an A? Do I want a B? Do I want a C and a D? And don't be mad when Uncle Jack tells you, okay, so you selected program B. This is what you should do. You want to dance. You want to go to Southern California. You want to do this. Great. Okay. You want to stay in geoengineered Florida. Got it. Okay. You want to go back and see your kids, I don't know, in fucking Illinois. Or no, I'm going to listen to my ex-husband. Or I'm going to listen to the current husband. Because, whatever. I think you got the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, next is from Elijah. This is my first Q&A submission. I've searched the forums and reviewed many blogs, but couldn't find your definitive stance on EMF blocking clothing. Do you recommend it?
Okay, so there, I don't know how well Elijah studied, but there is a blog in the Patreon, I think a year and a half ago, that talks about gold and yellow. It's on Patreon about EMF. Go read it. Go read what I said. EMF clothing. If you're going to travel, I'm okay with it. But what do I want? What do I tell all of you? I want you naked outside in the sun. So I'm not a fucking real big fan of clothing to begin with. I've become less favorable to clothing over time. I get people screaming at me all the time. Can you put some clothes on? You hear people on Twitter screaming at me. Can you put a shirt on during a podcast? You know what I say? Fuck you. Because guess what? I'm trying to tell you what you need to do. There you go. Somebody just put it in there. CPTC 71. So Elijah, you're getting a pass this time, but you didn't search so well. So it's there. Uncle Jack's got you covered. Okay? Read it, post a journal thing, and let's go.
Okay, last question is from Nick. Hey Jack, I work at a hospital as an RN in a primary care setting. I want to view the zip code DX. Would a primary care MD have access to this data, or is it strictly ERU MDs?
No, this is going to be somebody who works as a hospital employee, probably an employed physician. The most common people that sit on these committees are the ICU people. They're the ones that can get you access to the data. Sometimes in my hospital, it used to be the anesthesiologist, and it was me. Why? Because I was the surgeon that was on these committees. Most surgeons don't want to be on any of these committees, but I always wanted to be on it because I wanted to find out the fucking truth, how these motherfuckers lied to us. So every hospital is a little bit different, but I can tell you, the hospital keeps a tight rein on who they'll let on these committees because they don't want this truth coming out. They don't want you to know that the ICU admissions have a zip code in that town.
Okay, that is our final question for today. Thank you everyone for attending the May 2025 Quantum Biologic Powwow. The Q&A recording will be available in your dashboard and within the next 24 hours. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Jack. This has been a very dynamic Q&A today. Very powerful.
If this was your first Q&A, you're welcome.
Yes, exactly. And that we did have a lot of firsts on here today. So
Good.
yes, perfect. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good morning, evening, wherever you are, and we will see you next month.
See ya.